Hey, and welcome back to the number one podcast in the world, the Cellarcast, episode 166. And I am joined today, this isn't a normal episode, I'm joined today by a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. I am Prox.
It's Prox.
Or known, yes.
He's back.
Known as, yeah. Y'all know me. I'm known as, like, several handles that I've wanted to use. Like, I really regret using the Prox's Frisky handle, because everyone sees that word and is like, oh man, but as far as I'm aware, the definition is just, like, playful guy. Check him out. He's a playful guy. But people take it as, like, I don't know, a sex thing. Like every other word that I accidentally use in a stream, it's like, hey, you know that's a sex thing.
You've done that like way too much. To be fair,
yeah.
Okay, I'll tell this story. So I'm a frequent co-host, I guess, on Prox's stream, and there was one time he was playing Payday 2, and there's a weapon in the game that's like a spoon. It's like a golden spoon or something, right?
Yeah, there is.
And if you kill someone with it, there's some kind of like special, what is it, like a special effect or like kill icon or something like that?
Yeah, like I think if you hit somebody with a golden spoon, you like you burn them to death.
Right, yeah.
On top of like hitting them with a giant spoon, and I think I said something like,
yeah,
I spooned that guy.
No, you're like, really wanted to spoon that guy. And I started laughing, and Fox was like, you're like, dude, is that a sex thing?
Oh my god. Yeah, and like I think in reality it's like not technically. It's
like I guess it's like when you're cuddled up to someone, you're like both on your sides. You know, like you're behind them. That's what that is. So you're like, oh, I wanted to spoon with that guy. I mean, you know, it's not like it could be. I imagine there could be like friendly spooning. You know?
Hey bro, you want to spoon like tonight, dude? That'd be epic. That'd be super cool.
I've been in enough tents on Boy Scout outings to know that there is a thing as platonic spooning.
I mean, I imagine like there's like at one point sometimes it's like there's limited room and shit. So I do imagine like you have like no other choice. Like, are you just gonna be? Or also, there's also, like, the survival situation bullshit. It's like, okay, you're going to be all like, oh, I don't want to be gay or whatever. Or you're going to, like, survive, like, out in the cold desert or whatever. I wanted to bring up, like, I regret using the handle, but I was just like, whatever. It's like a Leafy's here thing. I just wanted, like, something is something, whatever, and I regret not using Prox the Tofu Man, because I think that would have been funny.
Do you eat tofu?
No. I've never eaten tofu in my life, but it's just one of those things, like, people see my banner and my picture and all that shit, and they're just like, okay, he's a weeb or whatever, and back then that would have had, like, a certain air of, you know, oh god, but now being a weeb, I think, is probably, like, one of the coolest things you can do, maybe. Like everybody. Well, not. Okay, I'm exaggerating because you know whatever.
Yeah,
but
slow your
it's
roll.
popular. It's super popular. Like fucking.
Yeah, it's actually it's the new punk. Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been like another decision. I might make that my second channel name. I don't know, but
the Tofu Man. I've had
Prox.
I think I've
my name.
I've had tofu. It's fine.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
I've heard like mixed things.
It's one of those things. You ever heard people say like, oh, you know, lettuce doesn't have a flavor, but it does. Like it has a flavor, right?
Yeah. Different kinds of lettuce, in my opinion, like have like a different level of like bitterness or like crunchiness or water retention, I guess, in them, like iceberg, and then there's like the dark green meme. I've had what is it? They wrap sushi with it. It's not kelp, right? It's
seaweed.
Seaweed, yeah. I do not like the taste of seaweed. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't even like fish in general, which people get on to me about, but like I don't know, man. There's like so many other meats and like food options. Like you're closing off fish does suck. Like that is a whole literal family of like food options, but
Yeah.
I think I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who don't like fish, but a lot of boomers, especially, get on to me. They're like, "Oh, I love eating lobster," and then they break a lobster's leg, and they're like, it's like, "Okay, yeah, cool."
I like fish, but there's a lot of seafood that I don't like. When I was a kid, I really liked seafood, but at some point as I grew up, it something like the something about the seafood, I'm talking like, I don't know, mussels. Like, when I was a kid, I loved mussels, and I loved like octopus and stuff. And as I got older, for some reason I hit this turning point, and it just became really gross to my palate. That's what. Did you ever have an adult tell you like, oh well, when you grow up, you'll like vegetables, because they're like, oh, your palate's gonna change. And what they don't tell you is that foods that you like as a kid, you're just not gonna like as an adult.
Yeah, like I don't know if I've ever had something like that because I've hated onions almost my whole life, but then recently onions have become like a pretty cool thing for me. Like it's a whole new world out there, right? But I've never thought of like the opposite where, yeah, you're like, well, okay, never mind. There is one thing.
Oh.
I used to like as a kid. I was such a trashy, like I ate like trash basically. Like I'd eat stuff from the sweet aisle all the time, like Swiss rolls and oatmeal cookies and all that. I mean, that's good, right? But like at the same time, they're probably some of the worst food. And now when I eat them, they kind of taste okay, but then later I'm just like, oh my god, bro, why did I eat that? Like I feel like shit
Your
right
body's punishing you.
yeah, and like with cheese, when I eat like extra cheesy pizza or whatever, I just regret it immediately within like almost like as little as 6 hours. It's like painful.
You're like partially lactose intolerant, aren't you?
Yeah, so my mother is like, she's probably one of the most lactose intolerant people I know. Like it's to the point where if she eats like a slice of cheese on like a burger on accident, shit's fucked. Like it's fucked. But like I'm getting to the point where I have to like start watching out. Like I'm not to that point, but I definitely am to the point where it's like if I just go willy nilly and eat like 3 huge pieces of stuffed crust pizza, yes, I am absolutely going to die. And
Damn.
I feel like it has to do with the cheese, but also just I don't know, the greasiness of it. And I guess it depends on where you go. But I usually went to Papa John's for my pizza personally, or like Domino's or something. I don't know what y'all fuck with pizza. What do you fuck with pizza?
There's a Domino's by Cat's house, so that's just what we get all the time.
Oh, nice. What do y'all like? What's the main pizza?
She's usually, what does she get? Oh, she likes a Supreme. I'm like Supreme ambivalent. I'll take some because there's a couple things that like I don't like olives, and I'm not a fan of bell peppers. Which I think is interesting because a lot of people, bell pepper is, they're like, oh, I don't like a lot of vegetables, but I'll mess with bell pepper. And for me, it's, I've never liked bell pepper. It's like a really gross taste to me. I usually just, I don't know, we had a conversation about this on stream the other night, but I'm usually, I think my favorite toppings are like, there's like the regular ones like pepperoni and sausage and such, but I'm also really I like anchovies, and I really like spinach on pizza, which is kind of interesting because I can't eat spinach by itself. Like my body, I told you about this then, but my body like won't accept it. It doesn't let it get down my throat.
Oh yeah, right. We talked about like projectile vomiting
Yeah.
on stream or something, and I told you that's I don't think that's ever happened to me unless I had like a stomach virus.
Oh
And,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
obviously everything's gonna
Yeah. It's one of the most intense bodily reaction. Like it didn't get to my stomach. It wasn't like, oh, I feel sick now. Like my body, it was. I think all I think is it was the one time that I had like cooked spinach or whatever my mom prepared, which I had actually asked for because I was curious about spinach as a kid. I was like, that might look kind of good. And she was so excited because I hated vegetables. And she cooked all this spinach for us, and I put it in my mouth, and I immediately knew. I was like, this is not good. But at that point, it's like I asked for it, so it's like I was like, I'll still like try to eat it, you know. I didn't want to be like a little picky like brat about it because I asked for it specifically. And then as I was trying to swallow it, it got like a certain point down my esophagus, and I think my theory is that it was so disgusting that, like, to my senses, that my body went into like a panic mode, like this, like as if I was eating like waste product or something, and it was like, you got to get this shit out of you now. You hit the eject button, and like all the muscles in my throat just tensed, made like a cannon. And it was like, because my mom was always on my case for not liking vegetables, and that was the only time she was like, oh, okay, well, I guess we can't do spinach now. she would sit and like make me eat like broccoli or something. But that was the one time she was like, no, you know what? You don't have to. I'll accept this one. She had some weird, funny. We had some weird cooking moments. There was one time she made pork chops, and I was eating it, and I was like, these pork chops are like weirdly crunchy. There's like a weird, like I'm biting down, and there's like a crunch, but it's not like a usual food. You know, when you bite down on, like, I don't know, like maybe there's a especially large pepper grain or something, or like a grain of salt, and it breaks up in a certain way between your teeth. This was like, it was different. It felt like there was like a snap or something, and I was like, this is weird. And I look closer, and I cut open the pork chop, and I go, Mom, there's shards of glass in here.
What?
And she didn't believe us. She's like, what are you talking about? There's not shards, it's just like salt. And I'm like, I pick it out. I'm like, Mom, that's like a piece of glass. Like, I don't even know. She might have had to get her glasses or something. But like, somehow she managed to cook glass into the pork chops. It was. I think it's incredible that there are certain that I am like. I'm actually pretty open to trying new foods. I don't like go out of my way all the time, but I'm open to like trying. Like, if someone offered me like, hey, this is like a I don't know. There's places where people eat like crickets or stuff. They eat parts that are not part of like a regular American diet, like tongue or something. I'm not like opposed to that. Like, if you offer that to me, I'm like, okay, well, I'll try it. I think it's incredible that I managed to grow up like that and not have apprehensions about unfamiliar foods.
Wow. Holy shit. Yeah, it's the secret ingredient.
Love and
like
glass.
Minecraft. Yeah, they cooked sand. You add sand and then raw pork chop, you get like glass pork chop or something weird. I don't know. I mean, I got to admit, I'm not, because my pizza choice is literally just defaults to either cheese pizza or pepperoni pizza, or pepperoni spicy Italian sausage pizza, and that's it. Like, I usually find a couple things at a place that I like, and then I do that.
Yeah.
Like Texas Roadhouse, it's like, they're always, my family's always like, why don't you try steak? Why don't you try this and that? And it's like, I'm just going to stick to country fried chicken, or there's like a salad they make, just like with iceberg lettuce and like some eggs, some bacon, some fried chicken in there, like some boneless fried chicken, like tender stuff. It's a pretty good salad. Like, I just eat that shit with like honey mustard or something. And that's probably like the heaviest part of that salad, next to like the chicken and the bacon, and like I don't feel like shit afterwards, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. Because now I guess I'm more concerned about that stuff because I've been going to the gym now for about 8 months. I've been trying to do it like twice a week, and ever since then I've always been like, I'm broke as shit, but I'm still trying to kind of be careful with my diet and all that, and I've like noticed like, hey man, damn, I like my arms and stuff, my legs, like I do feel like stronger and look better. I've gained weight from like muscle, and yeah, I don't know, man. Like on top of the greasy food shit, I'm also just kind of like picky with new food. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I look at something I've not tried before, and I'm like, there is a chance I don't like this, and I'm just letting you know right now.
Will you will
Right?
you will you try it though?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's always just the aspect of like they're gonna have to cook a whole damn meal or this or
Oh
that. Like
yeah,
I'd rather cut it
that's
off somebody's plate or something who already
no.
has it or
Actually,
something.
that's smart, especially if you're eating out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't eat out very often. I'm an infamous eat inner
Cellar dweller.
eater.
Oh.
So I pretty much everything is like, well, I guess we can try it from the store or something. Uh, Although my palate, again, like that's a part of the reason my palate doesn't change much because it's like, well, you just kind of get the same groceries every week or so.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do kind of get it too, like how some people have like those few meals they eat and then that's it because it's just
Oh
quick
yeah.
what they know, like time is a pinch, money is a pinch, like whatever. I mean,
I don't even have that excuse. It's just like
yeah,
my dad
I
goes out
just
for
yeah.
groceries, and he's like, "Hey, do you want anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just like regular stuff." So I can't
Right.
think of it. If I'm in the store, maybe I need to go grocery shopping. If I'm in the store, I'll maybe be like, "Oh, we could pick up that or that," you know. Um, but if I'm not, if I just get caught like, "Hey, is there anything you want?" I have no preferences. I'm like just default, go to the default list, and my friends make fun of me for it. Kat makes fun of me for it because she's like, I don't know. I go to her house. I think it's crazy. I'm like, you have like so many, like there's no snacks in my house. There's like maybe bananas. I go to her house and I'm like, what the, how do you just not, it also might be like a genetic difference in that we're like, with my family, if there's a snack or something, we're like ravenous eaters. So all of our meals, all the food in the house has to be like full meals. Like you have to make a commitment if you want to make this. There's very little like just a little thing over here. There's very little of that in my house. Um, I don't know. It's like country style.
Right. Yeah.
I
Mm.
This is sort of unrelated, but there's a story I wanted to tell from my past. Actually, technically, this was last week. Whoa, that was scary. Audacity froze for a second, and I didn't know what was happening.
Wow.
We're good. Uh, so I don't do laundry terribly often because I live at home and I leave the house. Well, I like go out and take a walk once a day. But in terms of actually going out to the point where, like, I don't know, I need to look presentable or something that's not just around my neighborhood. I don't really have to do that very much. And I own like 30 I own like 30 shirts. So I own like a lot of clothes that I've just stockpiled up. I only have like 4 pairs of pants, which is the one drawback. But I'm not wearing pants a lot of the week because I'm just at home. So uh I don't do laundry very often because I just don't have a need to. But last week, just about, I felt, I was like, okay, I gotta, my last pair of pants is like I gotta wash it now, so I gotta go do the laundry. I ran into a problem. Prox, I think you might have seen pictures of me with it's my scout pants. The ones that I keep a lock on it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the backstory is when I was in high school, I took a PE class, and I had a locker. I had specifically a gym locker that I only had for that class, and I had a lock for it, like a cylinder lock, I think is what it's called, the one that you spin around. And at the end of the class, they were like, "Well, you're not gonna have your they gave me the lock essentially because I wasn't going to be using the locker anymore. And I didn't know what to do with it, so I figured I'd just wear it on my pants as like a fun little... I thought it would look cool, and it does. But it creates this problem where, obviously, if you want to wash it, you have to take the lock off, because it's not just... I don't really want it banging around inside of there and doing damage to the washing machine or the dryer or anything like that. So, I had a couple of reminders that I'd set for myself just so that I always knew what the combination was. I had like a written note, and I had it written down on my phone. So at some point in time, I lost the note. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I still have it like in my memory and I have it on my phone. So I go to do my laundry and I'm like, oh, fuck, what's the combination? And I open up my phone and I think, oh, that was on my last phone. My last phone died and it had the notes on it, and the notes did not transfer over to my new one. And I forgot to write it down while it was still fresh in my memory. So I was looking at this lock and I'm thinking, how am I gonna get this off? I don't have a way. I thought I remembered what the combination was, and I tried out a couple variations of it. No luck. I turn the lock over out of frustration, and I realize I had actually come up with a third method to remember it. I had scratched into the back of the lock using a pocket knife the combination. And I was like, I am so smart. I wrote it physically. I etched it physically into the lock. And I'm looking at it, and my heart starts sinking, and I realize that there's only 2 numbers on the back of the lock. There's only 2 numbers, like 32 and 12. And I'm like, what's the third number? Why did I not write down the third number? And then I remembered, hang on. So the surface area of the lock itself is not very large. And in order to get like a deep visible cut etched into it with a knife, and I have like a decent pocket knife, but it's like metal. So there's only so much you can do. In order to get it visible, you have to make kind of large cuts. Like large cuts that are you're not just molding this thing like clay. So while doing it, I had realized that there wasn't enough room to actually write all 3 numbers. So I remembered that in order to fix this, in order to overcome this and still be able to write it down on the lock, I had left myself a secret code. The problem is that I couldn't remember what the code was or how I wrote it down on the lock. So I stared at this thing for probably 10 minutes trying to figure this out and what it could have possibly been, and trying to analyze all the little scratches in it. And then I figured it out. So here's what it was. Here's what the code was. The first number is 32. The second number that's written there is 12 underneath the 32. However, if you look to the left of the 12, I realized that there was a noticeable vertical mark that had been left in the metal. If the way you're supposed to look at it is you're supposed to look at the 1 in the 12 and then isolate it. You're supposed to separate it from the 2 and then combine it with the vertical scratch that's to its left, and you're supposed to read it as a Roman numeral 2. And 2 is the middle number. So it's 32, Roman numeral 2, and then you forget about the scratch, and then you just read it as 12. And that's the code that I left for myself, and I was like, no way. So I start spinning it. I do 32, 2, 12, and it unlocks. I felt like a genius.
Yeah, it took cryptologist people or whatever they're called 20 years to crack this one to get into his pants. we took. They're trying to access the OG cellar dweller. It took them 20 years. Yeah, sorry, that's what I wanted to call you when you said you like stayed at home a bunch. Like you had the opportunity to call yourself a cellar dweller.
I am, yeah. I am. If I was like underground. Yeah. Yeah, sorry ladies. You're gonna have to Indiana Jones this shit if you want to get in these pants.
Yeah, it's like yeah, they have to go through the boulder trap, the harpoon trap, and then the lock is the final one where they usually die.
They're like, who the fuck came up with this? This is so stupid. Well, now that we're like 30 minutes in and we've talked about food and pants, what have you been? Oh, you know what's so funny? I tried to pull up my notes, but I was going to ask about this. It's my. I tried to pull up my notes. And it was, I pulled up the wrong notepad file, and it's from back when we were playing Silent Hill 2, and when I was writing down clues to the puzzle, one of the puzzles. So I wanted to, I don't know, talk about it, because we kind of just, I say we, you were the one playing, but for anyone unaware, Prox recently went and streamed all of Silent Hill 2 for the first time, and I joined him on it, and it was the first time experience for both of us.
Right, yeah.
So you had played Silent Hill 1, like, how long ago?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull that up and see. It has been like a decent while.
It's a few months.
So, yeah, the past 2 weeks, like each Thursday, we played Silent Hill 2 pretty much. And then Silent Hill 1, I know I renamed it because people were complaining about the name, like forgotten, like, okay, I know, it's not like completely, like, whatever, who cares? Trying to see, I don't think it was more than like a year ago. Okay, so we played it like 4 months ago, and like you've played that game before, made a whole video on it. I haven't seen it.
I haven't, no, I don't have a Silent Hill video.
Oh, really? I thought that was the first video you
That
made.
was the first stream that I did.
Oh,
which was the first thing I did on my channel.
Right.
But no, I haven't made a video.
Okay. And yeah, so did Silent Hill 1. I did Silent Hill 1 for the first time like 4 months ago, and then we both experienced Silent Hill 2. Yeah, okay. So yeah, what did you like want to know exactly about what do you want to talk about exactly with our Silent Hill playthroughs?
I'm curious about what you thought about it. We've had a little bit of time to think about it. I've been thinking about it recently.
Yeah, so I guess to start, I kind of have to talk about Silent Hill 1 because it was like my introduction to the series. And I've played a lot of games that have clearly were inspired or completely ripped off Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And there were premises in these games that, funnily enough, invaded my brain to the point where I thought that's what happened in Silent Hill. Like, clearly, because there's this game, Afraid of Monsters. I made a video on it, whatever. And, like, the whole thing is, like, it's a crazy psychological trip. Like, there's monsters, you're killing monsters and going through, like, a fucked up town in Sweden or whatever. It also sounds like Cry of Fear, right? But then, in the end, you find out, like, oh, these have been people the whole time. And, like, for some reason, I thought that was the case in Silent Hill 1, and that's kind of why I was, like, avoiding combat in the school and, like, of other places, and I kind of gave that up after some time.
That's why? Oh, I thought you were just super ammo conservative.
I mean, that too. Like, I think in Silent Hill 2, I was pretty much at that point where I was trying to be kind of conservative with ammo, and I honestly had, like, a huge excess near the end, so I could probably,
yeah,
whatever. But anyway, so Silent Hill 1, I can completely see why, people, I mean, Silent Hill 2 as well, people have gotten so much inspiration from this series, because I don't know why, but, like, it's an old game, like, 2 old-ass games, right? But, like, it still feels insanely fresh. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel as if it, like, I feel like it could have come out, like, yesterday. Like, it just feels so, I don't know, just so original. Like, it's, like, brimming with creativity and originality. Like, I really don't know how else to explain it. And I guess one really key difference is with Silent Hill 1, I think pretty much I like Harry Mason, like the
Hmm.
character of Harry Mason, and like Sybil and everybody. Like he's kind of coming in like on like an unfortunate situation where he's like trying to find his daughter, and like shit's all weird, and there's like a cult, and his daughter's been like I sort of like abducted, and like there's a demon going on. Like I don't completely remember everything, but it clearly is very very different from Silent Hill 2, which feels pretty similar but is like much darker and more, I guess you said it, like personal. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I could see why people get like personally disturbed by this game versus the first game, because there's like different characters going through different like Silent Hill experiences. um oh yeah, I should have said spoiler for both Silent Hills
Oh
before
yeah,
getting
yeah.
into this,
Spoilers
but
for this bit.
yeah, sorry.
I'll mark it in
Yeah.
the timestamps and all that.
Okay, yeah. And after thinking a lot, like I've all because my main thought is like how much of it is real, which I kind of like the theory that none of it is, and it's like he's literally just in his own Silent Hill, just like that one lady, the brown hair, I don't remember her name. She's
Oh,
got her own fiery
Angela?
Silent Hill. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the fuck Maria, she's in her own Silent Hill as well, and so is the dude in the house. The ghost, dad,
Yeah.
and his family. And I guess the biggest divide for me is like Silent Hill 2. Like, I think it just is overall like it feels like kind of a overall clean slate, like improvement all around with like
Hmm.
graphics and like the spooks. In my opinion, they're like the spooky moments. Like they just like hit you out of nowhere, and like the really creepy atmosphere and the enemies that make you just like, oh, what the hell, like the crawly dudes.
I hate the legs.
Yeah, and I guess the biggest thing for me is like James as a character. Like I'm really unsure about him, like how much I like feel for him and how much it's like, James, what the hell, man, you should have been, you know stronger about all this. But it's
Why'd
like
you
it's
do
such a
that?
complicated, yeah, it's a complicated situation. Like I think I sort of know what the game is trying to convey and like imply, like, so because I think it's like, him and Mary are like living their life or whatever, and then Mary gets sick and she starts lashing out. She becomes like uglier to him, right? Because it's like she's being like kind of spiteful over, potentially like pretty much dying soon.
Hmm.
And instead of like dealing with it head on, he finds other methods to like become happy and stuff. And maybe that's like where Maria comes in. Like maybe Maria, maybe it's like some kind of like inference that maybe he cheated.
Oh, I didn't.
At least that's what I'm picking up on. I don't know. Like
I
it seems like he
yeah.
went elsewhere for happiness and pleasure, whatever it is, because Mary, like their relationship was falling apart, something like that.
I kind of interpreted Maria as being like James's idea of, I don't know, like, I don't know if maybe like a younger version of Mary, because she's she's dressed in like she's dressed like, oh, she's gonna she's dressed for the club.
Right.
And you
That's
cut
like,
to Mary, and she kind of presents herself pretty differently. So I don't know if it was like a different, either like, oh, that's what she was like when they met, or that's kind of how he wishes she was. Like there's some kind of sexual frustration going on, and Maria is like this almost more ideal version of Mary, if that makes sense. Like this version he kind of, like a part of him just that's very selfish, just kind of wishes was around.
yeah. So I think maybe it's just like an inference. I don't know if any of this is correct, but Maria, I think she's like a pretty complicated character, like especially with playing her second scenario. It's pretty interesting, kind of like
Yeah.
there wasn't much, but she had like some philosophies, right? Like we got into her headspace a little bit, but I think Maria in James's story, like his context, I suppose, or her context in his story, I want to really, because she comes from like the club, right? You'd think someone would be there for like a really specific reason, and she kind of like, I guess like Maria kind of dresses sort of the part too, right? Like sort of as somebody who's like revealing more skin and like, the kind of tiger print stuff and like the makeup and stuff like sort
Yeah,
of
she's
just
kind of
like
skanky. I feel like
I
that's the
mean,
look.
yeah, I suppose, yeah, like she seemed familiar with that club, like she had a key and all that. Like I don't know, like the
Yeah,
whole thing to me just kind of seems to be referring to uh I don't know, like betrayal, like sexual type of like betrayal because he just looked elsewhere
hmm,
for, I don't know, maybe I think he
interesting.
probably like cheated
Oh,
and
you think
like
while
did
she
other
was sick?
things. Yeah,
Okay.
I think he was trying to find like her kind of love and stuff like elsewhere, and like he failed and he was frustrated and he ended up well, yeah, I guess
Yeah, he
killing
said there was a
Mary.
hole
So,
here and it's gone now.
right. I well, yeah. There's so much weird stuff like, and I don't know what the deal is with that girl, like the little girl, and then Eddie. Like
Oh
I don't.
yeah, Laura, the little
Yeah.
one. I don't. No, that's a good question. That's a good question. I'm
Like
not.
Eddie,
Yeah.
I'm like okay. I don't want to get all Bible-y because every fucking game does this now, but Maria could be like lust, and then Eddie could be like wrath. Like I don't
Oh,
know, he's just like
interesting.
so. I don't know. It's like kind of maybe it's representative of like I don't know, like it's sort of like James's anger and his like to the highest level, like his
Hmm.
contempt to the highest level, where like killing is just like it seems to be like the answer. Like nobody, like
Hmm.
Mary can't hurt me anymore if she's dead, right? Like that really
Oh,
screwed up,
really?
wrathful, like kind of yeah. I
I
don't know,
didn't.
something like
Wow.
that.
Okay, I didn't even think about it. I kind of the way I kind of interpreted it was that James, Angela, and Eddie are all like real people, and any other characters are just sort of like creations of the town. Like they're sort of like figments that exist. So you're saying that like though they're all of those characters are just like representations of part of James then.
It's really yeah, because like it's really hard to say. I feel like either guess is as correct as the other one because it's like James is clearly going through his own Silent Hill kind of psychosis, and like who even knows? Like everything we could be seeing through his eyes could be like some really like personal, uh, representations of his memories and stuff like that. Like you talked about how he was remembering the hotel all kind of fucked up and weird and things were changing, but that room is like clear as day. Like the
Yeah.
room where they stayed was like it's almost as if he remembered every detail.
Yeah. It looks
Like
it
nothing
looks
moved.
just like how it does in the VHS.
Right. Meanwhile, like everywhere from the beginning to the end, like that in my opinion, that room is the only one that like I would think was a real place. And then
Hmm.
everything else was like just I don't know, like maybe the park was accurate, like stuff in his mind that like thing like significant locations for Mary and him could be accurate, but everything else it's just like and the people uh it's yeah, I just don't have these same questions in Silent Hill 1. Like in Silent Hill 1, I think
Yeah.
I sort of have an idea like maybe like most of it
Yeah. The
could
my
be
thing
real.
with one, I think I've talked about this a few times, but it's it's a really cool game, and the concept of Silent Hill like as a town is like okay, so it's you kind of learn in the first game there was some weird demon cults thing going on there, and Silent Hill is almost like this. There's like a it's like a portal or a place where there's some kind of evil hell or whatever, something like that,
Right.
dark energy, and the barrier between the real world and that is thin in the town of Silent Hill, and the whole deal with the first game was that they were trying to use the daughter of the kind of cult leader witch lady as like the focal point, essentially, of suffering. Basically, like the energy was going to focus on her and manifest like something like the emotion. If the emotion was so powerful, this negative emotion that's so powerful that it's able to kind of use her as like a conduit, and it ends up warping the entire town around it. So a lot of the stuff in the first game is sort of like contextless. Like you're going through the school and you're going through the hospital and it's all creepy and it's like, it seems weird and like there's obviously something going on, but you don't really have a lot of context to explain it until you really like get almost near the end. And then you can kind of, in retrospect, go back and look at like, oh, okay, well, all of these things are based off of her. I keep forgetting her name. Is it like, it's not like Rachel? The little girl. I always forget her name.
Did you say Angela earlier, or was that the lady?
Oh, that's Silent Hill 2.
The sweater lady.
Yeah, sweater lady.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
You're talking about Silent Hill 1. Okay, so her name is Cheryl, I think? The girl?
I think
you're talking about...
Cheryl is Harry's daughter? Hey, I'm just gonna look up
I think
Silent Hill 1 characters. Let's see. The mom is named Dahlia. Alessa, that's her name. Cheryl, I think, is his daughter. That's his daughter.
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about the like
Cheryl is
like
in Silent Hill
ladies
3. Yes.
Oh, Cheryl.
Cheryl's
okay.
the protagonist of Silent Hill 3, who I think is the little... she is the little girl in the first game that he's looking for. Yes.
Oh, okay.
But the witch's daughter is named Alessa. Alessa's like the focal point of the town, and so it's like, okay, so she got bullied. You're going through the school, and she's being bullied because her mom's like a weird cultist. And... so that like manifests as these like literal little goblin, gremlin, child-sized things with knives. And I think near the end of the game, there's like a desk that you can find that has a bunch of mean things written on it. There's like a ton of iconography throughout the game related to like super damaged. Like burned bodies and like bodies wrapped in bandages and wrapped head to toe and stuff like that and strung up, and then you find out, oh, she got a ton of her body burned in like a house fire. And there's like translations of this thing from Alessa's life that's like a traumatic event. There's all the stuff with nurses, all the time she spent in nurses, and you kind of like, okay, so Lisa, like the nurse, the main nurse character in that game, she's the one who was, I believe, Alessa's nurse. And so she's kind of the only like she's the only person who you get kind of a sense really cared for her. So she's like the only person in town who gets to be personified as like a kind, innocent person. And you're going through it, and you're like, okay, I get the idea, right? And my one gripe, like my one, just like thing that I thought could be like expanded upon was the concept is so cool of this town that focuses on your negative emotions and manifests them in some physical way and manifests whole people out of it and all this, and reality starts warping around your past and stuff like that. But in the first game, it's a little bit impersonal feeling, just because it's like you don't know, you get so little. Like there's like a random boss. Remember the moth boss in the first game?
Yeah.
It's just like you're just walking on a rooftop, and then giant moth attacks you, and you're just like, what? And then you get to like the second to last room of the game, You go to Alessa's room and it's like, oh, she collected like taxidermized butterflies and insects and stuff, and that, like, that's where that came from. You're like, oh, okay, like now you have, there's some meaning applied to it. And I was like, it would be so cool, and I think that's what the second game does. At the time, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure what the second game does is it takes that, but instead it makes the main character the focus of the town. And so, yeah, I mean, like you identified, it's like a personal feeling game. Like you're going through, like Harry in the first game is just like, what this is weird the whole time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting from both perspectives. It's like Silent Hill 1 feels like the perspective of an outsider, and then Silent Hill 2 is the perspective of somebody who pretty much kind of belongs in Silent Hill. Like they're pretty much, you know, tailored for them pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. James just reacts to things like I think he occasionally he's a little like, what's going on? But for the most part, he sees things and it just kind of makes sense to him. Like he doesn't really bat too much of an eye at it.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting too. Like, yeah, you get like a feeling he's kind of like already sort of familiar with some things in this town versus like Harry, who's just, nothing. He's got like no connection to this place. I don't think he just was touring or whatever with being a tourist with his daughter. And then shit hit the fan, and yeah, so.
Yeah,
but I like both perspectives. I'm glad both of them exist. Like, and it's not just like both personal, both not personal. Like, I don't know. It's very interesting. Like both takes. So
there's a really small like enemy roster in 2 as well. There's only like 3
it's like
or
way
4.
Smaller than 1. I think like one.
Yeah,
of the
one generally had like a couple enemies per area.
Mm-hmm.
But 2, it's like there's like the weird, you could say weird about all of them, but there's like I don't know what their official name is, but they look like they're like constrained or they're like trapped inside of something.
Right.
They have like the spit attack, and then there's the legs, and then there's I guess Pyramid Head, if that counts. He's kind of a boss. He's like one character. Are there any beyond that? Oh, there's like the beds, but those only show up once Angela shows up, or once you get to like way later with her.
Yeah, those bed enemies are fucking creepy as shit, dude. Like, most of them are, but like those beds in particular, just like goddamn. Like, and then the final boss, you know, with Mary is like literally like a fucking flying bed, essentially. Like spitting insects at you or some shit. It's like crazy. Like just out of nowhere, bam. Like I knew it looked like an arena to me, like the room she was in, but I don't know why. It was still like a surprise to me. Man, and the way you get endings in both games is insane.
Oh yeah.
Different.
We looked up the ending. Like I was just curious, so I looked up how to get the endings in Silent Hill 2, and man, you gotta work for those.
Right.
In the first game, it's pretty much there's like 2 optional things, and those kind of modulate exactly like what specific cutscenes you get at the end of the game, and I think it affects the actual final boss you fight. But it's basically like, did you do this? Did you do that? And it's a checklist. In 2, there's like this whole system of like of points where you start out with a certain number of points for a certain ending, and doing different actions increases the number of points for that ending that will be decided. I don't know if it's like from a selection, like it's randomized, or if it's like weighted or what, or if it's just like a strict whichever has the most. Yeah, because I remember. Did we, no, you did not. I think that was something I did. When I played the game myself, I went back and I, like, redid, in, like, one stream, I redid a big portion of the game to get a better ending. Because I think I had a save from a point where I could do that. In this game, I don't know if you'd have to start over like from scratch.
Yeah. I somehow got the best ending in 1, and then 2, I apparently got a neutral ending that is not canon, apparently.
Is it not canon?
I mean, apparently, like, a friend of mine was saying that the leave ending is not canon. Apparently, the canon ending, according to him, is in water. That's, like, what happens.
Okay. Silent Hill
I
heads.
don't know what happens.
Yeah. Tell us if that's accurate. Tell us if Rox's friend is full of shit.
Yeah, because they're a huge Silent Hill 2 fan. Like, I mean, I know several people where Silent Hill 2 is like their favorite game of all time. So, I think I trust him, but like at the same time, it's like, I'm up for like, cause I don't know, I kind of like the leave ending, but yeah, I imagine it wouldn't be the most. Well, I don't know. It's kind of like, what should James's punishment be? Is kind of like a really subjective thing, because a part of me is like really feels for him and doesn't think he deserves, like, I think he's gone through enough hell. Like, I think he's suffered enough. I think he's like all fucked up about it. He clearly cares. And then another part of me is like, he got off a little easy compared to some other people in the game. Well, whether they're people or manifestations, whatever,
Yeah.
God, what Angela sees is insane. Like,
Angela just walks off, doesn't she?
I think Angela just. I don't think so. I think she's just in that fiery staircase, and that's the last time you see her.
Damn. I am so curious about, like, what? I don't know. It makes me want to go, like, read interpretations. Like.
Yeah.
I feel like if anyone else in Silent Hill was going to be real, it might be her. Because she feels like she has such specific. I don't know. She kind of feels like the little glimpses we get into when you run into her, it feels like she's really. Like the game could have been about her.
Yeah, I can't really explain that. Like, because I do think others could be interpretations for James's, like, story, like, context-wise, but Angela, I don't really know what hers would be. Like, in relation to James, that is. Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like. I don't know if James is, like, involved with what happened with her at all. Like, I think it doesn't make sense, like, if, like, the connection there. So she might, like, I kind of agree, she could be real, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, you know what's really weird? This just occurred to me. So, like, let's say that Angela is, like, also a real person going through her own Silent Hill story, whatever. That last time you meet her, like, in the burning staircase, which is, like, the one time you kind of get to see what she sees, I think.
Yeah.
At the start of that scene, she sees James and she thinks that he's her mom.
Yeah.
So she just sees, like, and James is definitely real. So, like, I don't know, I don't know if that's just her own personal mental break or whatever, but it's like she saw one person as a completely different person that she totally believed until she, like, touched his face, I think.
Yeah, like, it's kind of interesting because I guess that kind of scene is sort of symbolic in a way, because there literally is an ending called In Water. And in that scene, that's all you can do is, like, sit in water and look up at her in, like, the fiery staircase. So it's like two completely different worlds are, like, kind of intersecting in that moment. Like, her world, fiery world, and then his world, which is at the time in water.
Yeah, because it's that whole ending segment is the whole hotel is, like, flooding.
Yeah, like the whole, like, even the top part, yeah, it's like raindrops. Like, that's so fucking genius. Wow. There's, like, raindrops on the top floors, and then the bottom is where it, like, all settles down. Like,
yeah.
Holy shit. That is, like, that's pretty cool. Like, I don't know. In my opinion, there are, like, very few games to me that feel as if, like, obviously there are games that have, like, a complex, place, like a building that you're in, but it doesn't really feel connected a lot of the time. But
Uh-huh.
like in that moment, it really tricked me into thinking like, wow, this really is like one big place that's kind of shifting with James as he's like kind of making his way
Yeah.
around. I mean, I think Half-Life kind of gives me that feeling too, because
Hmm.
the facility's like falling apart and you have to revisit certain parts that were normal, and then you're coming back and it's all fucked up. It makes you feel like you're in an actual place, like it's immersive.
Yeah.
Um, wow, yeah,
No,
that's
I
kind of
yeah. I didn't even pick
crazy
up
for
on
me.
that. You're totally right. It's like literally pooling up at the bottom and flooding, and it's like chest high water by the end or something.
Yeah, and like the music's going absolutely fucking crazy. Like you're losing your mind, I'm pretty sure. And like, oh man, I like yeah, just like I think my favorite part about Silent Hill, honestly, like on top of the atmosphere, is like the choice of like a normal building into what it turns into in like your Silent Hill world. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
like the most oppressive fucking architecture like possible. Like it's literally like stone cold like concrete walls and shit. Like it's just like the most grimy looking. Like it's just so uninviting. Like it's so like I don't know. If you like woke up there, like you clearly would be like all you'd have to do is just look around, like just look at the walls and like you just know like
It's
what the
not a
fuck
good
is
place.
happening, dude. Holy shit, this is awful.
Yeah, it taps this really. I mentioned this on stream, but it taps this really unnerving thing for me in depictions of like a hell world or something like that, where there's like depictions of hell that I guess I would say are very natural. Like it's like dark caves and walls of rock and stuff like that, and lava, oceans of lava or something like that. It's like the Nether in Minecraft. And but to me, the imagery that's always really kind of gotten under my skin is when it's something that feels very not even just modern, but like purpose built. Like when you're in Silent Hill and it goes to like the hell version of the world, and there's like architecture, and oh my god, there's all that stuff when you're deep underground in SH2. And there's like it what's creepy to me is like it's like someone built this was built at some point and used, and it almost adds this like because hell exists just to be hell, right? That's how we typically think about it. But to me, the idea that there's almost like this implication about the place that you're standing in, that there's stuff that you couldn't eat. You're like, what? And I understand that it's all, it's all like kind of abstract, and it's probably, if you really wanted like an in-universe explanation, it would be like, oh, this is like imagery and things that James knows and is familiar with from the world, and that's why it's shaping like this. But to me, just the atmosphere of being there, and there's like concrete and doorways and tiled floors, and there's like that whole prison area and everything in it. It's like it was used at some point, but the context in which it was used, because it's like hell, is so unfathomable to me. Like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't line up in my head of how any of that makes any sense at all. And that's
Yeah,
like,
like
yeah, creepy to me.
who built it? How long has it been there? There's like it feels like a personal James thing, but at the same time it could somewhat be like I don't know, like the Hell World and Silent Hill 1, like it could be like pretty general, like some people can like intersect at some point in some place, and like maybe millions of people have done that, like thousands, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like all the residents of Silent Hill at some point, maybe, since it's like such a fucked up like town, like maybe it happened to everybody. um this is kind of weird. This is going a little off topic, but I guess it's in the topic of Silent Hill. But I have this there's like this weird, really weird theory that Jarma of all people introduced me to.
Okay.
That streamer guy. That for any reason when you die, like in real life, like you die, he has a theory that like what if when you die it's not like an instantaneous thing, like it's not as quickly as it seems like for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you get like shot, right, it's like okay, you're dead like right on the spot probably, depending, but for you and your brain and your perception of everything around you, it could be, I don't know, hours, days, months, years. Like it could be like you could spend like an eternity in like some kind of conscious and like with your brain, like, or it feels like that for you, and in reality it's only a few minutes for everyone else. And like I'm kind of wondering, like there's probably a theory or something out there like that James, maybe he's dead, and like this is kind of like what's happening when his over time, when his like brain is finally breaking down and time is passing however long, and like this is what's happening to him. I mean, this isn't unrelated, but it's something like I mean it's related, not really related, but I saw this like YouTube short thing like by the math YouTuber Versadium or something like that.
Veritasium, I think.
Veritasium, yeah, something like that. He's like a science kind of like, he's really interesting, like Vsauce, and I watch a lot of science stuff. But he was explaining what happens when you're looking at a black hole and then someone is approaching that black hole and you're watching them. And it was pretty much the explanation that you cannot see someone go in a black hole. It's impossible. What you see instead is that they will begin to slow down until they stop. And then they will just begin, the light around them that's like coating them will just literally begin to darken, and they will just proceed to fade away slowly. Like, isn't that wild? Like what the fuck? You literally can't see someone go in, and you can literally see
because the light, I mean, the light has to reach your eyes, but if it's if the hole's absorbing the light, it can't.
So you literally see someone like fade right before your eyes, like, and it's wild. And like I guess the reason I bring that up is because apparently gravity around a black hole, like gravity has something to do with time. Like there's some weird thing where time might be different depending on the gravitation and all that, like perceived time. I don't actually know, like don't quote me on that. So it just like I don't know, I just thought about it. It's like how long is the perceived time to die to a black hole to that person? And it's like the same deal, the same thing I was explaining. I'm not saying there's a black hole in Silent Hill. I'm just saying like
kind of feels like it.
I mean, yeah, like it's like a weird void, like two worlds colliding kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it just unlocked a new fear for me. That like I guess when you die, it takes you an extremely long time for you to just like reach that point of like, because people like to say heaven, hell, whatever, or like non-existence or whatever. I feel like it might, like, it could take a very long time for you to like your own perception, like get to that point. Like what if somebody goes to Silent Hill when that happens? I don't know.
Well, there's one ending to Silent Hill 1 that I think is just Harry waking back up in his car at the start of the game.
Oh wow, that sounds like the worst ending in the game.
I think so. I think that's like the worst possible one.
Because that's like, wow, yeah, that's like you're looping it again like crazy. Like that's nuts.
Yeah, and it's like, did he dream it, or what exactly is going on, or something, or was he dead, or something like that?
Yeah, I bet people that got that ending were like kind of disappointed, maybe a little bit, like, oh my god, seriously, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But like, it really is an interesting reaction for either him or like the town. Like that's really weird. Or it just can't happen that way for some reason. Like, I don't know, the universe just won't fucking allow it to happen. The town won't allow it to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, is there like a time loop, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that, because I think Silent Hill, for me, probably because of that, death theory thing, among other things. Like, I feel like it probably is like the scariest imaginable game world to be in for me. Like, that is, it's like, what video game world do you not want to be in? Like, Silent Hill would be at the very, very top of that list. Like, I feel like there's other worlds, like, I don't know, being in the Warhammer universe would be scary, but at the same time, like, Silent Hill, you're
Pretty
literally
bad.
just
Well, okay, Silent Hill,
sense.
the thing is like Silent Hill is just our world, except it's just like in Maine.
Oh God.
So
oh no.
that just go to Maine.
No.
Take him to Maine.
I need to do that one day. I need to find like the foggiest, coldest day in Maine, and I need to find a city that looks like exactly like Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Just go there and be like, "Hey guys,
there's gotta be
we're
one.
We're streaming some Silent Hill today. We're just walking
Just
around.
walk around. Oh, dude, there's this series of videos. There's this guy who has this YouTube channel. I don't remember what it's called. I watched a bunch of them like months ago. His videos belong in a category that I would call shouldn't be encouraged, but I won't stop watching them. Which is, he does these video games in real life videos. I was gonna say skits, but they're not skits actually. Essentially what he does is he walks around with a camera and he acts like he's playing like Skyrim. He's going to like Target. The one video I saw that forced me to like, I was like, I have to watch this whole thing now, because I saw a clip from it. Is he's going to Target and he's trying to like build a fort using stuff he's picked up from Target. And the employees come over and they start telling him that he can't do that, and they start like chasing him around. And like they're just like walking after him, and he's just turning around, and he's got like all the UI elements up on the screen, and he's just turning around and he's going fireball, fireball, and like two people are coming down an aisle, and he goes firewall, and he starts like running from them, and he looks to the right, and he sees like the employee only like back rooms entrance, and he goes, "Oh, the secret tunnels!" And he goes through the doors, and he's just running around in like the Target employee back rooms until they like force him out. I think they threaten to call the police on him. There's one video where he's just trying to see how far he can get into different office buildings before people ask him to leave.
Wow.
He goes in and he walks all the way into like the employee break room, and he like steals some snacks from them, and then he walks out and he sees a guy at his desk, and he's like, "Oh, you guys have got a ton of you guys have any loot around in the dungeon?" And the dude's like, "What? Oh, we got a break room back there. Yeah, you want to go take some snacks from it?" And he just goes back and grabs like more pretzels. And the guy's like doesn't care.
That's so fucking funny.
I'm like, it should not be encouraged, but while it's happening, while it's being made, it is incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, that's like, I've never seen something like that, but I have seen the videos where people reenact Skyrim NPC shit where like,
oh yeah,
it's
like the
camera
Oblivion
zooms in.
characters.
Yeah, and there's a guy across the room who like walks through some desks. Like the desks are all just shifting around him, and he's just continuing to walk anyway.
Yeah,
like fucking the physics of yeah. I think that's pretty funny. Like, so I love when people, because Gmod is like my shit. That's like my childhood. When people can do like the Half-Life 2 like Gmod movement like to a T, like with the crowbar posing and like the movement and shit and the dancing you can do in the console, it's just so fucking perfect. And I think my favorite part is the death ragdolls when they get it like so perfect. Yeah. Like the ragdolls of Source are so infamous. Like it's just like they have such a weight to them, but then like a lack of weight sometimes. Like it's so, I don't know. I love them shits. Like I'm so I don't know. It's so ragdolls are so boring in games now. Like you shoot a guy and then they just like sandbag to the floor, and it's like, okay, well that's realistic, I guess. But like, can they do something goofy? Like
Yeah.
they'll swing around.
There's a hilarious time from the early 2000s where you could actually just do a ton of ragdolls in your games and the physics could support it. But they were not concerned. They were not concerned with making them. I mean, doesn't Enter the Matrix have like a bunch of fucked up ragdoll physics?
Um,
Or am I imagining that? Am I confusing that with just the weird things that your arms will do in that game?
so I think the martial arts and Into the Matrix just looks a little funky sometimes.
Hmm.
But and how it collides with other people is sort of weirder. Like I don't think they really thought about it too much. And it's not too bad. Like I mean, people will like go flying in that game and like slide across the floor for like 5 feet or whatever. It does look pretty silly. I'm not gonna lie, but it's not terrible. I played the PlayStation 2 version of the game.
Hmm.
I don't understand. I don't want to go on a whole Enter the Matrix rant, but every port of that game, it feels like a different game. Like it just, there's so many things. It's almost as if every game has their own special features and then its
Huh.
own bugs. And for some reason, like if you combined all of them, it would be, I feel like it would be a lot better, but unfortunately, I don't know. Like I don't know what the story is behind that game, man. Like I need to look into it, make a video on it. I don't know if there's a lot of I don't even know what engine that game is in. I can't even find documentation about it. But
Enter the Matrix engine?
yeah, it's from
Am I-
Atari and Shiny, so whatever the
Huh.
hell they were fucking doing it, I'm not sure. Might be
could've-
in-house
Yeah,
engine.
a lot more in-house engines back then. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about a particular engine.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I almost wanted
yeah.
to look up like something particular. Oh God, excuse me, particular to the PlayStation 2 version of that game, but find a forum about it. But I imagine nobody cares. Like nobody asked. Like I don't know. Like it's just such a. That game is like on a weird limbo between forgotten and like, oh yeah, of course, dude. I played that back in the day and like forgot about it or whatever. Like it was pretty successful in sales, but yeah. Anyway,
Prox,
well, yeah. What's up?
how familiar are you with card games? Like collectible card games?
I think the most involved I've been with like card games lately. I have like some Pokemon cards, not like a crap ton or anything, and some Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But TCG Card Simulator or whatever the
Oh,
shop.
right. Yeah.
I've played that, and that game is pretty goofy. It's pretty funny, pretty fun, but it does reach a point where the game gets like it becomes a drag. Like it would literally take like 400 hours to get the 100 level 100 achievement, and I'd rather not.
Okay, I ask just because I'm going through a card game, specifically a Yu-Gi-Oh kick right now.
Oh,
I don't, I've been like always an on and off Yu-Gi-Oh player. Never enough to really like invest in buying a deck and like spending money and stuff. But enough to like want to play online simulators and stuff like that. And this started because I got on. There is this whole genre. You think it's really specific, but there's like a million of these. There's this whole genre of videos that are essentially person who plays one card game being showing a person who plays a different card game cards from the hosts from their main game and asking them to evaluate them. So, like, there's this whole of, like, Magic player looks at Yu-Gi-Oh cards, or vice versa. Or, like, a Hearthstone player looks at Magic cards and evaluates, like, how good they think they are. Or, do you think this card was banned, or something like that? And I love them. I cannot get enough of them. Anytime one shows up for me, it is the most interesting. I love them so much. There's just something so entertaining to me about card evaluation. It is like a really interesting skill, and I don't know, like way to analyze something. Because the first card game I ever played really seriously was Hearthstone. And I remember going through an entire learning process of going from like the very scrubby, like, I don't know. There's a lot of cards that are, I guess you'd call them like noob traps, where someone who's new to the game looks at them and they go, oh my god, that's so... Any kind of like life gain card or things that just do damage to the opponent and stuff. Those are generally like, oh, that's so good. I'm going to put that in my deck. And then you find out, actually, most of the time, those cards are not very good. They're not very valuable to be playing. And learning why certain things are or aren't good was super fascinating to me. And it made me really want to go back and play Yu-Gi-Oh! I ran into this problem, however, which is that I just cannot stand the way that modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Plays.
It's like 8 minutes of setup, right? Like it's basically like 20 cards like, or whatever to set up.
You want to have sit through a 15-minute turn?
Yeah.
And that's in person, you know, when you play a simulator typically. So there's like fully manual Yu-Gi-Oh! Simulators that are meant for people who are going to go and play the game, you know, in real life. They're going to go play it offline with physical cards. So you have to manually do things like shuffling your deck and calling certain plays and stuff like that. I don't want to do that. So I'd play other simulators. There's a bunch that are built off of a software called, I think the original one is called EDO Pro. And that is just kind of like, it does a bunch of things automatically. Like it'll show you if something's possible, or it'll ask you if you want to trigger a certain card effect or something like that. Sure, yeah, that's good for me, because I don't want to keep track of like all the 1,000 things that could possibly happen off of every interaction. So even then, when a lot of things are being done automatically, like, the way the game plays is such a turnoff to me. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has had a really interesting arc in the way that it has been developed over time. And a lot of it stems from the fact that it eschews a lot of its kind of card game, card battler colleagues. A lot of their ideas, let's say. A lot of principles that might seem unthinkable to people who play like Magic the Gathering, for instance. Like, oh, how could you ever have a game that doesn't have like a resource system? And that's just like how Yu-Gi-Oh! Operates. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a game where, because there are you like, I'm assuming you're vaguely familiar with how it works? Like mechanically?
Like a little bit, not crazy. I know I had like a 10-star, like, I'm trying to find it now, and it's going to take me forever. But I had this like really specific, so I'm going to try to explain this card as best as I can. I'm pretty sure it was 10 stars, like the rating or whatever. And it was a silver knight. I think it was like a knight that has like white or silver armor, like shining in the middle. It looked symmetrical, I think. And he had like a rainbow type of shine effect around him, and I don't know what it was. It was like the background around him. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Nerds, please find this card.
What was? Do you remember the color of like the card, like border itself? Yeah.
No, unfortunately,
okay.
I don't own it anymore, but I had it, and I don't know what happened to it. And I'm literally looking at a list of all Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, and I'm looking through all of them to see if I can like find the art that I recognize, because again, it's like a fucking silver white knight, whatever, symmetrical in the middle, rainbow around him, like 10 stars. I feel like that's pretty specific. Like,
you can sort by like level. That's level rating.
Yeah, I'm trying to see, man. Shit, I don't think I can on this website. Damn.
Well, to explain, essentially.
Yeah.
In a game like Magic, you have a resource called mana. Mana comes in a variety of different colors. There's like 5 different colors of mana. And you gain mana by playing these cards called lands. And then you essentially, each turn, you can tap the land, essentially use it for that turn, and add mana to your mana pool of the color, and then other cards will cost certain mana to play. Sometimes it's color specific, sometimes it's just, it can be any color or a combination of those. That's how it works. Hearthstone is kind of a streamlined version of that, where there is just a single mana resource, and you start with one mana, and then each turn you go up to a maximum of 10 for you to pull from. So there's kind of this natural balancing element where certain cards being, if you have like a 5-cost card in, let's say, Hearthstone, you can't play that for the most part until turn 5. There are like certain ways to cheat out like getting more mana on a turn, but those are usually like specific cards. It's not like the most common thing all the time. If you have a 5-cost card, you have to imagine like, okay, I can only play this on turn 5 at a certain point in the game. And if the developers and the designers choose to design certain sets or certain card like trends around certain types of monsters or minions or cards or whatever that are a certain cost, they can kind of control like the pace of the game, if that makes sense. Like if this class in Hearthstone revolves around a lot of high cost cards, then they are going to, that kind of that creates a certain play style if you want to play that kind of a deck. If it revolves around a bunch of low-cost cards, you can imagine earlier in the game, they're going to be like spamming out a bunch of stuff. They're going to be very aggressive and stuff like that. And the fact that there is this resource system, and all this applies to Magic as well, the fact that there's like a resource system naturally gates certain strategies, which is why certain, what they call like mana cheating, is typically really powerful, because those are basically interactions or card effects or things that allow you to get things earlier than you usually should be able to. In Yu-Gi-Oh, there is essentially no resource. There's no like hard singular resource system. The only one that you have is that you get one normal summon of a monster per turn, which means that you can play from your hand a monster that's like level 4 or lower. But beyond that, anything else that you want to play entirely hinges around, instead of paying a cost, it is about meeting certain requirements or meeting certain stipulations, which sometimes includes paying a cost of something, like discarding a card or paying your life points or something like that. But it's all variable. There's no like set way that you have to look at like, well, what's the cost of the card in like a terms of a mana cost or something. This means that theoretically, in a game of Yu-Gi-Oh, if you meet the requirements, you can play your entire hand on the first turn.
Right, I've seen that.
Yeah. Because it's like, well, if I just have things that all combo properly and I meet the requirements to play them, spell and trap cards can essentially be played infinitely. Like, as if you have it, you can play it. And that has led to... so there's, well, okay. It's a really interesting game to see the progression of, because you go look and you look at really old Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's a really slow game. And where the game really started picking up and becoming more interesting, when I say old, I mean like from, like early 2000s. Let's say maybe around like 2005 or so was when the game kind of started picking up and forming a more concrete identity, because they essentially started developing what are now known as archetypes. Archetypes are like cards that all belong together, like they're all titled similarly. So do you remember like Blue Eyes White Dragon and stuff from the anime or something?
Like episode 1?
Yeah, that's like a
thrown out.
Yeah, that's like a classic monster is the Blue Eyes White Dragon.
God, and then fucking Exodia.
Yeah.
Like, you just win if you
Yeah.
get all 5 or whatever, and that's so funny that happened in like the first episode.
Oh yeah, I love Exodia. There are still Exodia decks today. They've always been gimmicky, but they've always existed. For instance, Blue Eyes White Dragon is a monster on its own. However, there's a whole series, there's a whole archetype of so-called Blue Eyes cards, which all have the words Blue Eyes in their title. Like Blue Eyes, what is it? There's like Sage of the Blue Eyes or something like that. And all of these cards are generally designed to work together with each other and do things. Like, you play this, for instance, you play this one Blue Eyes card, and when you summon it from your hand, it lets you search for a different Blue Eyes card from your deck and put it into your hand.
Right, I have to post this. I'm sorry. Like, is this really...
Okay.
Is this really a Yu-Gi-Oh card?
Dramatic Crossroads. Let's see.
Is this seriously? It's the meme.
Oh,
it's literally the meme. Are you fucking kidding me?
Did you not know that meme comes... Yes. Yes.
No,
okay,
that is so fucking... I lost my mind when I saw that.
People listening right now, you guys might be familiar of the meme with it's like the image of the kid at like there's like a fork in the road, and one of the paths leads to like a shining brilliant castle, and the other path leads to like dark spooky evil mansion on like a cragged rock hill with like lightning in the background. That originates from the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime and is in fact, it's not even a real card. It only appears in the anime. There's a number of cards that are anime exclusive, and this is one of them. Somehow it became a meme.
That is so fucking funny, because like I was just looking at all these like monster cards and shit, and I just see that, and I'm like, am I on like Know Your Meme? Is this like not a real Yu-Gi-Oh site? And like, and then I just okay. So no, I'm not kidding. I'm looking through every Yu-Gi-Oh card right now, just trying to see.
There's like a billion.
I know. I'm on E. I'm on page 50. I'm just
search you can search by level.
Can you on this website? I can't
Maybe.
find it.
Oh, on this is like the official website.
I can't. Yeah.
Monsters. Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
All monsters. Not. Maybe on like YGO Pro deck. Cards. Yeah, we're gonna find this. we'll see if we can find the. These are card database. Let's see. Search. Filters. I want to look for. I don't know what kind of monster it is.
I gotta say, like, I like the art. It's so funny. Like, I either really like the art of a Yu-Gi-Oh card, like that's one thing I really like about him, or the art is like funny. Like some of the monsters look really funny. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I don't know. This like guy just has like a really particular style. Like when he draws people, it's like, wow, all these like knights and shit, and like.
Well, it's not one artist. It's like.
Oh well, yeah, whatever. Like the combination.
Yeah.
Just their art direction, I should say.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, 10-star. Fuck. Do you remember if the border, if it was like an orange color or a white color or something?
Man,
like
I don't
purple?
remember. Probably a dark color. I don't know. Like, I know that's not helpful, but that's like, I literally can't remember.
Okay. You'll keep searching and I'll yeah. So that's back to my thing. That's essentially the way that the game is designed, is that there are a certain amount of so-called generic cards which don't belong to any particular archetype or anything like that. And then there are... Garbage Lord.
Garbage Lord. I'm sorry, I had to post that.
His name is Garbage Lord. Why is
Garbage Lord, okay. Yeah. For real. That's Asmongold or whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Garbage Lord would, you'd be able to play him from your hand, and then you could summon like the Blood Wall from your deck or something. Yeah. Something like that. So generic cards are generally less powerful. Well, they try to keep them less powerful because they can theoretically be used. Magic has like hard separations of they have like different, obviously the different mana colors. So you can mix as many mana colors as you'd like, but obviously that means that you're going to have to need more varieties of lands, and it gets trickier and trickier the more colors you introduce into your deck. It can be done, it's just like very particular. Hearthstone has very hard separations between classes. So in Hearthstone, class-specific cards will tend to be more powerful than the generic cards that any class can take. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the same way, except in Yu-Gi-Oh! The power level of the game is so head and shoulders above, I think, any other card game. Prox, are you familiar? And this is actually for a very particular reason. Prox, are you familiar with the concept of card game formats?
What do you mean?
Like okay, so to use Magic as another example, because it's the most applicable one. In Magic, they have a number of different formats, which essentially describe the different formats are almost like, I don't know, game modes or something like that, where it decides, you decide what cards, like what the card pool is that you have to play from. So
I get it.
Yeah, so the main format of Magic is called Standard. And Standard includes any card released in the last, I think, 3 years. And they have set dates on when a so-called rotation happens, where, for instance, there will be so many sets of cards that are included in Standard at the moment, and then on this date, like 1 or 2 are going to rotate out. And so the card pool is just going to get smaller. So there's going to be like a couple hundred cards that are available at any one time. And I think Hearthstone does the same thing. I know Hearthstone also has what they call core cards, which are ones that are like always, they're not necessarily from, the last X number of sets, but they kind of like to keep them in rotation. So like certain exceptions, like what I guess they consider like foundational cards or whatever. I think Magic does the same thing, but that's generally how the game, that's how Standard works. There are other formats like, what are they called? Vintage. They have 2 like old formats called like Vintage and Legacy. And those generally are, I forget what the exact distinction between them is, but it's basically like you can play with anything. You can play with any card that's ever been released. And there is also another format called Modern. And Modern is basically, it's not every card that's ever been released, but it starts from like the midpoint of Magic onward. Because the cards that are available to use massively change what the metagame is. So, like Vintage format is dominated by cards from like the 90s, when the balancing was a little whack, for instance.
Yeah.
And like it's generally like very, as I understand it, very firm, and it doesn't change a lot because the options, because there's so much shit that's available to you, the best stuff generally rises to the top, and it's had so long to develop. Standard, as a rotating format, it as a designer, it offers you a couple opportunities. Number one, it means that you can actually kind of control the way the game plays. Like if you decide that, okay, for the next 2 years, we're going to kind of try to shift the design towards a slower game or a more mid-range game or something that, benefits certain styles of deck building. We're going to try to balance the game around that with how we're releasing new cards. Because of rotation, eventually Standard is just going to be cards that are designed to be played kind of a certain way. So you can you have a little bit of influence about how the game is played. And also from like a business perspective, it literally like forces like new product because it's like, oh, if I'm a Standard player and my cards rotate, I have to buy new cards. Like they're not playable in Standard anymore. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has no rotating format at all. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has one single official format, and every card that's ever been released is playable in it since like 1996, I think.
I imagine, because I've heard, like, isn't, like, Pot of Greed an infamous fucking card from Yu-Gi-Oh! That's, like, banned everywhere, pretty much?
Yeah. So so that's how they control the game. Instead of it's essentially like, how do you force players to stop playing cards? Because this is a physical game, and you can't do nerfs, right? Not really. There are things called erratas, which are like where they update the text on a card. Generally, that only happens if there's like a typo, or someone, like, the way a card was written, like, causes rules problems. But generally, it's like, okay, how do you get people to stop playing cards? Rotation is probably a more elegant way. Yu-Gi-Oh! Just bans cards. And that, like, they ban cards and they release new ones. And that forces people to play different stuff. What is this one? Kung Fu Nyan Nyan.
Yeah, that's, like, not a card.
Oh, this is
it's
an
just
anime
like
card.
Yeah, it's just funny looking to me. Like, the name was really funny. She just looks funny.
Right. So Pot of Greed has been banned since, like, a really long time. It's been banned for probably, like, it's a while. Pot of Greed is banned because if it was legal, everyone would play it. Because it's just draw 2 cards with no downsides and no stipulations. Essentially, if you draw Pot of Greed, that's the equivalent of drawing 2 cards that turn instead of 1.
Okay, so, yeah.
Because just replaced your card.
You
keep sending me these cards. Little Fairy. Who is Little Fairy?
It just looks so funny.
What the fuck is going on with her head?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Look up Little Fairy for Yu-Gi-Oh! Everyone watching. What the tell me what the fuck. That's not even, like, the size of her head. Her hair is just massive.
I've seen memes like this on Twitter where they draw, like, Higurashi characters like that as a meme, but that literally is apparently, like, an official... I don't know if that's a card or if that's just an anime thing, but it just... Wow. That's funny as hell.
Yeah. So how do you get people to play different cards? One of them is banning old ones that are too meta defining, or sometimes limiting them to, you can only have, like, 1 copy or something to hurt the consistency or something. The other way that you get people to play new cards is to make the new cards really, really good. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Has become infamous for being maybe one of the most power-crept games of all time. Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I would describe it as, it's a game of mutually assured destruction, where both players are trying to set up the most powerful nuke possible, and the game is about, essentially... you have these incredibly powerful cards that are countered by extremely powerful negating effects. So you remember, like, trap cards, right?
Yeah.
So, like, a trap card, the way that it works, you set it down on the field, and then when you pass the turn to your opponent, typically there will be, a condition of, like, if this kind of thing happens, if your opponent attacks one of your monsters, you can flip this card up and it'll do something.
Right.
That trap cards are often considered to be way too slow for modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you have to set them and wait 1 turn.
Right.
That is too slow to play. You're going to get blown out. So they introduced over time things which people have colloquially referred to as hand traps. This is not like an explicit card type. It's just kind of a function. They can be monsters. Some of them are actual trap cards. They have the effects of traps, but you can play them from your hand. They're things that trigger when your opponent performs an action, and you can essentially discard it and do something, typically negating it. And these cards are so integral to the way the game is played. This one's called Negate Attack. What's going on with Negate Attack?
I don't know.
Like,
we're talking
counter
about
trap.
it, and I've seen this, like, in other media, and I imagine this is a very good card to have. Negate Attack. I don't know. It's like a counter trap. You were just talking about traps, and I was like, oh, hey, this looks Because I've seen this in other media, and I'm like, okay, this must be like some kind of meta card or something.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not posting this for a meme. This might actually be the card I had. I'm not sure because it matches
Star Dragon.
Because it matches my description, except it's a dragon instead of a guy. Because it's level 10.
Interesting.
It's got the rainbow shit. He's silver and shit. Like this could be the card I had. I don't know. But yeah.
Okay. That's
Cool.
Maybe it is. Maybe you'll spend forever searching. Maybe it's a Mandela effect.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
I
a
don't
lot
know
of
if I had a
cards.
cat when I was little or not. Isn't
You don't
that weird?
know?
Yeah, I don't remember. Like my mom doesn't either. I'm like pretty sure because I remember a litter box when I was younger, like going in the pantry and then seeing the litter box down there, and like I'm pretty sure we had a gray cat, but like we can't remember. Like it's so weird. Don't even remember its name or that's weird. Mandela meme.
Interesting.
I wanted to ask this. Speaking of Magic, I know Black Lotus is like the meme card, but is it? Because I know it's like rare and shit, but is it also expensive because it is a useful card?
Oh yeah. Hang on. Let me remind myself. Black Lotus.
Because I think Pokemon. When I think of Pokemon, I always think that the most expensive cards might not even necessarily be the best. Like it's literally all about how rare it is. Like it doesn't even matter. Like
sorry. Yeah, I just read the card to refresh my memory on exactly what Black Lotus does, and I was like, oh yeah, this is fucking insane. It's a 0-cost card, so you can just play it for free. You can tap it, sacrifice Black Lotus, and add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. Yeah, that's like it's just free get 3 mana. Which in Magic is stupid.
Right.
Yeah, dumb. That's an infamously powerful card.
Like I think it goes for like hundreds of thousands of dollars now. Or
oh
some
yeah,
stupid
especially
shit.
if you get it like graded or there's like a signed version. Let's see, it just came up on eBay. Alpha Black Lotus, so that's like an original print, I think. From like the first series or whatever. 9.5 rating, gem mint. Signed card. Holy shit, do you want to hear the price tag on this?
Is it like $1 million or some shit?
$2,150,000 on eBay. Now, mind you, that's just what it's being listed for. But
wow, Pot of Greed was used a lot in the anime. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many examples of it being used. Also, this is probably one of the best. I want this card. I don't care.
Potato Man?
Yeah, Potato Man.
Hang on. Wait till... Why does he look like that?
It's like, it's the most, like, when you imagine Potato Man drawn by, like, an 11-year-old, that's exactly what you'd think he would draw. Like,
yeah. How do you feel about... Hang on. How do you feel about this card? I want to know what you think of this guy. What do you think of Jerry Beans Man?
Jerry Beans Man.
Jerry. Yeah, go ahead and read his description.
Jerry, a bean soldier, believes he's the strongest warrior in the world, but his true abilities are still untested. Oh, he has like no defense. Isn't that like terrible?
It's okay. It depends.
Jesus
His stats,
Christ.
1750 for a 3-star is okay, I guess. Yeah. Would you believe that his name is perhaps a localization error?
I figured there was something unique about this card. Yeah.
To be Jelly Beans Man. I just kind of love him. I love the way he looks. I love his rosy cheeks. Jerry Beans Man. Yeah, so I guess, okay. I've been droning on and on about Yu-Gi-Oh! Design for a bit, but essentially that's the way the game works. It's this extremely high power crept game that revolves a lot around long combos that can only really be countered by negations that your opponent hopefully has drawn. Well, hopefully for their sake. And it's just like the game. I just find the game kind of exhausting to play. Like there's too much happening. So I was getting interested in fan-made formats for Yu-Gi-Oh! So there are two really notable ones. There's a couple different ones, but the two most notable ones are GOATS and Edison format. GOATS essentially freezes the game at around, like, I want to say 2006 or so? Something like that. And the name refers to a very popular card in the meta at the time called Scapegoat, which is kind of this like defensive card that summons like 4 little guys who don't really do anything on their own, but your opponent they're all in like defense positions, so your opponent has to basically punch through them one at a time to get rid of them. It's like a stall card, and it's kind of indicative of a much slower format of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where the game was a lot more about trading individual monsters and kind of like maybe small combos or synergies between cards. But generally, a lot of cards were played for loose synergies or just being good on their own. And personally, I find GOAT's format to be a little bit dry. But what I really liked is what's called Edison format. Edison format uses the ban list and card pool that was available at the 2010 what was it called? Shonen Jump Championship that was held in, I have to look up the city, Edison, New Jersey. So the reason for this is a couple-fold. So number one, it was at the time that it was played, this was a very well-liked state of the game. It didn't last super long, as I understand. Like a ban list came out and a couple cards came out very soon afterwards that shook things up a lot. It also has a historical importance because the Yu-Gi-Oh! The Shonen Jump Championship series for Yu-Gi-Oh! Did not last. It was the last tournament that was ever held of that series, and it would be replaced the next year with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship series, which I think is like Konami official, all them or whatever. So it kind of represents sort of the end of an era and kind of a midpoint in the game. If anyone's familiar with the anime, it's around like the 5Ds era. So it's basically everything up to synchro summoning and not really anything beyond that. So it's essentially, it's like a middle point of the game where it's not like a very slow, grindy, like creature battling style, but it isn't like, in my opinion, just absolutely smothering card combo stuff. There's still like cool combos and things like that, and there's plenty of synergies and cool archetypes and stuff. But games will regularly go to like 10 turns or beyond. And it's been like really fun. Again, I've just been playing it like on a simulator, but I really enjoy it. And it's what's fascinating about it is that at the time that format existed in like March of 2010, there was a generally agreed upon meta of like, these are the best cards and these are how all the matchups work. And in the years since Edison format has been pretty widely played by the community, to the point where it actually exists as there's whole side tournaments at Yu-Gi-Oh! Majors dedicated to just playing Edison. The meta has shifted incredibly. And it's a really interesting study in how if you just kind of like let a game sit for a while, it will develop in ways that you really can't grasp within like, let's say 6 months or sometimes even a year. What were the cards? Yeah, Rescue Cat?
I think that just looks cute. And then
I love Rescue Cat.
Yeah, and then Scrum Force is featuring your favorite character.
Jerry Beans Man. No way.
Yeah. Sorry, I know you're still going on, but how would you rate that was probably my best Yu-Gi-Oh card at the time was Majestic Star Dragon. That I'm starting to think that was probably the card. Like it just matches
Majestic. I gotta look up the actual. Let me see what it does. Majestic.
Apparently, it's a 5Ds era card.
Star Dragon. Okay. It's funny. It has an anime-only version. There's also like a lot of cards that appear. They're real cards, but they appear in the anime, and they just have different effects.
Yeah.
Okay, Majestic Star Dragon. That's a level 10 synchro monster. It's a dragon. The materials. Well, this is first of all, this is a very expensive card to cast. It requires a Stardust Dragon and a Majestic Dragon. Stardust Dragon is a level 8 synchro monster. So the way synchro summoning works, synchro is what the white border means on the card.
Yeah.
So a synchro summon is basically there's a type of monster called tuners, and the idea is that you need a tuner monster and a non-tuner monster, and their levels have to add up to the level of the synchro. So Stardust Dragon, which is one of the materials for Majestic Star Dragon, is an 8 star, which is the levels. It's an 8-star monster, which means that you could have like a 5-star tuner and a 2-star monster, a 3-star monster. And then you could summon a Stardust Dragon. So Majestic Star Dragon requires the original Stardust Dragon, a different card called Majestic Dragon, which is a level 1... Okay. It's a level 1 tuner, cannot be used as synchro material except for the synchro summon of a Majestic monster. So it has 0 attack and 0 defense. You are literally only playing this to summon a Majestic Dragon. Or Majestic Star Dragon. How many Majestic cards even are there? I don't actually know. Okay. So you need 3 cards, Stardust Dragon, Majestic, and a non-tuner. So that's already kind of that's a lot to ask, I suppose, or there's a decent amount of setup involved in getting that. Well, maybe by modern standards, not the most, but in something older, I think especially at the time. Okay, effect. So what is the payoff for this? Well, it's a 3,800 attack monster with 3,000 defense. 3,800 is pretty high. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can tribute this card, negate the activation. If you do, destroy all cards your opponent controls, which is basically Stardust Dragon's effect as well. Once per turn, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn, and you can activate one of its effects as this card's effect once per turn. Okay, so you basically get to target... let me finish reading it. So during the end phase, target a Stardust Dragon in your graveyard, return this card from the field to the extra deck, then special summon that target. Oh, okay, interesting. So essentially the way that this card works... if your opponent activates an effect, you can essentially tribute Majestic Star Dragon to negate it and then destroy everything that they control. So like a board wipe for them. While it's on the field, you can target a monster your opponent controls, basically turn it off and negate all of its effects. And then Majestic Star Dragon gains one of its effects, which is really... strange. That's a really unique ability. There's probably some absolute like rulings nightmares involved in that, of like weird interactions. And then during the end phase, so non-optional, basically, so at the end of your turn, target Stardust Dragon in your graveyard, return this card from the field so essentially you have this out for one turn. So when you synchro summon when you use something as a material for a synchro summon, it goes into the graveyard. So Stardust Dragon would go into the graveyard to summon Majestic Star Dragon. So at the end of your turn, you basically target the Stardust Dragon in your graveyard and then just resummon it and put Majestic Star Dragon back in your extra deck, which is where like certain special summon mechanic monsters like synchro summons and fusion summons and stuff like that, they go in the extra deck. So it's basically like, I guess the way you would play this is you're like, shit, I'm gonna like, it's like a power up for Stardust Dragon. You're like, okay, I have Stardust Dragon on the field. You do have to have Majestic Dragon. I don't know if there's a way to, maybe there's a way to search it out. If there's a way to search out Majestic Dragon, because that's easily like the most useless card that's involved here. It's not too hard to get like a tuner. There's might be a way, because it's like a really low level dragon tuner. There's probably a way to target it or something. There's a ton of dragon support in this game. And then you basically drop this. Big boost to attack. Stardust is like 2,500. Majestic Star is like 3,800. Yeah, it's like basically a one-turn power-up that gets to counter something that your opponent does, and you get another card back at the end of your turn, and also like negate an entire card that your opponent has. Yeah, I could say this is like a slightly generic. So Stardust Dragon is actually a very popular card, because it is a fairly generic monster that has a decent effect. It's essentially, it has like a solid stat line, and then when a card, it's basically like you can negate the activation and tribute Stardust for the cost. And then at the end of the turn, if you tributed it that way, you can bring it back from your graveyard, kind of thing. So Stardust is a fairly popular generic card to just sort of negate effects that your opponent is trying to activate or something like that. This is like a powered up version of that. I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, it requires, I'd say it's probably okay. It seems like it's okay. I'm going to look this up. I'm going to look up, hang on, Yu-Gi-Oh! Majestic Star Dragon. Is that card good? Oh, sorry. Prox, you didn't even know. There is an even bigger version of this card called,
oh my God, I see it.
Majestic Shooting Star Dragon. Sorry, Shooting Majestic Star Dragon. Which is an even larger, an even larger man. There's a thread that's, do you think OG Majestic Star or Majestic Shooting Star is better, from 3 years ago? Let's see.
Yeah, I see someone talking about how the original Majestic Star Dragon is pretty insane for the nuke it can deal against the opponent.
Yeah, probably a decent. Yeah, that's if you get the effect. That's if you get the effect off. There is a different card called Black Rose. Wait, it's got some. I always just call it. Yeah, oh no, this is just Black Rose Dragon. Black Rose Dragon is another synchro that is very easy to set up. It's like a 7-star, and it has a generic material requirements. It's just a tuner and a non-tuner, and that's a full board clear. It destroys all cards on the field. It's like a reset. So the trade-off in the design space is Black Rose destroys everything. Something like Majestic Star only destroys your opponent's board, but the trade-off being it's harder to summon, and also it specifically has to, it can only do that after it negates an effect. So a little bit more conditional. Probably really good in certain situations and with certain decks that can get it out more easily. Yeah, that would be my casual guy evaluation. That it's a good card. I'll say probably good.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, it seems like a lot of work set up. I don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh memes and like how the duels usually go, so I can't really say, because I've like casually looked at some other cards that have like about half the attack, and it's like level 4, and it seems like, much more general. You can just like summon it and like whatever. Like I've played, like, the last time I did Yu-Gi-Oh stuff was fucking Sylphette was trying to get me into it's like, I think it's that damn Konami Yu-Gi-Oh game you can play right now. It's like the mobile
Master
game,
Duel?
but it's on Steam, I think.
Yeah, Master Duel, probably.
And what ended up happening is he was copying an opponent's deck, and then, because his opponent, what he did was literally just nuke him in one turn. Like, he didn't even get to go. Like, he just, like, died, I think. Something like that. Like, it was bullshit.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, that just seems like what the game, like, it kind of is. It's like, like you said, setting up a fucking nuke and then killing them in, like, one turn. It's like, it's over.
Yeah, it's modern Yu-Gi-Oh games. Well, this is like a simplification. Old Yu-Gi-Oh a game would maybe last 15 minutes, 30 minutes if it went kind of long. Modern Yu-Gi-Oh lasts the same time, except an old game would go to like 30 turns, and a modern game goes to like turn 4. Maybe 3 or 4. Which is why I've been enjoying Edison a lot, because it retains, in my opinion, the cool identity of the game, which is that it's like, oh, there's all these interesting, like, cool summoning mechanics and combos and archetypal synergies that you can make between cards that fit together. But the power level is not so high that it's like a card comes out and it's like, well, it doesn't negate, it doesn't protect from literally every single type of effect, and it doesn't like destroy things, it doesn't like banish things non-targeting when it enters the field, and it doesn't do this and that, so it's like, maybe a little, I don't know how good it is. That was like, because there's new cards that, like, I think are cool. I think the cards are cool. Like, there's a whole series they're called Danger, and the idea is that they're all based off of different cryptids. So there's like Danger, Bigfoot, or Danger exclamation point, the Danger Mothman, Danger Nessie. It's like the Loch Ness monster, and they have like a cool mechanic that they all share, which is essentially, like, I guess the idea is like, oh, you're seeing like a warning for this monster. So what you do is you reveal the card in your hand, because they're all like really high level monsters. And in order to, so you get like a normal summon in Yu-Gi-Oh of a card that's level 4 or below. Anything above that requires tributing, which means that you need to already have a card on the field, and then you tribute that and send it to the graveyard to play the higher level monster. So they're like these high level monsters, most of them. And then you reveal them. So in order to you can special summon them from the hand. So you reveal them in your hand, and you're like, this is my Bigfoot. And then you put it back in your hand, and I imagine in real life you would like shuffle it. And then your opponent picks a card that's in your hand that they can't see, obviously. And if it was the card that you revealed, then you discard it. Or sorry, they pick a card for you to discard. If it was not the card that you revealed, if they don't pick your Bigfoot, I get to summon Bigfoot. And then they all also have effects that trigger when they get discarded. I was like, oh, that's such a cool, fun mechanic. It's like you're hearing a warning sign about this monster, and then if they don't pick the monster, the correct one, then oops, they now it's on the board and they have to deal with it. And I like went and I looked up a deck that used them. It was combined with I don't know, some other archetype. It was like a half and half thing. And I went and I tried to play it, and I tried to play like multiple matches, and it was just getting blown out constantly. I was like, oh, I'm not even like, I don't even get a chance to play the cards in a lot of situations. Or I play it, and then it's just immediately removed from the field. And it's just like, I don't know, there's like a lot of just bummer moments, and I'm like, oh, these cards are so cool. It's just all the cool ones I feel like are not. It's kind of like a limiting design space when the abilities to like destroy or remove things are so powerful, but they have to be that powerful because the other things are so powerful. It's frustrating. So playing something that's a lower power level format is like refreshing. Also, fun fact. So you know how I mentioned that essentially the way that they balance the game is via the ban list, right?
Yeah.
So there are two versions of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. One that is in Asia, the Asian territories version, which is called the OCG, or the official card game. And then there's the one outside of Asia, which is the TCG, or trading card game. The OCG and the TCG have different ban lists, which effectively makes them different games in a lot of ways, because there are cards that have been banned forever in the TCG that are just legal at 3 in the OCG, and it totally shapes what people can play. Also, the OCG gets cards first. They just release cards in Asia before like anywhere else, which obviously changes things. I think that's very silly. So there's kind of like two versions of the same game that exist simultaneously, but one is kind of behind the other one. And then you get Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. And Master Duel, the digital official Yu-Gi-Oh! Simulator, when that game released, it did not have every card in the game. It had a select version, like a select pool of cards. Master Duel, so they still don't have every card. Master Duel has its own ban list, which means that also there are cards in Master Duel that are super important that just don't exist effectively in any other version of the game you'd play. Like, you can play Master Duel, and literally the lessons you can learn about the way the game is played and what you have to play around don't apply if you go and play in person. Like, I don't know why they do this. I don't know why they do this.
How long have we been talking about Yu-Gi-Oh? Holy shit!
I don't know, a while.
What the original. You brought it up.
I think I just brought it up because I want to talk about Edison.
Yeah, because you were doing like, okay, gotcha. Like, because you said you were getting the. But no, I've never had like a. The more I think about it now, I've never actually seen anyone play Pokemon, like the card.
Card game. I don't think I have either.
Yeah, I don't know how the fuck that shit works. Like, I have like a few cards. Well, I have like a stack.
I've heard that it's like more. I've heard that it's I've heard people call it baby Magic, like Magic the Gathering, because I know that you do have to play. It might have been. Was it made by Wizards of the Coast as well? I don't know. Because it has like a similar idea where like you have to play cards like lands, but in Pokemon I think it's energy cards, and then you can use those to play certain abilities on your Pokemon. It's like a more, I think people call it baby Pokemon just because it's like anytime a game is like more streamlined or has a smaller scope, that's just what people say. It's that it's, you know, it revolves essentially around your team of Pokemon and then like a bunch of support cards that you have around it. I'm pretty sure it's like the same idea. And I know you have to like score points and stuff, like doing certain actions or taking out a Pokemon scores you a point and stuff like that. I don't know. I've heard people say that they really like Pokemon. And I just go, sure. I did have the cards as well growing up. Did you ever have the experience of sitting around with your friends or something and with cards and you didn't know how to play the game, but you just talked about the game, like the version you guys had made up in your heads?
I think what happened was I was like into Bakugan for some reason when I was a kid, like for a second, like for a year or two.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't know how the fuck to play the game, but I would show my friends and be like, "Look how cool these look," and like that's all I would say. Like that's all I would talk about. Like, oh yeah, you could roll it on there and it like opens. Oh my god, right? Like I for like a minute, and like I just started like giving some to friends, and I'm just like, I don't care, whatever. And I just kind of got over it. But I had like a box, like a tin hexagonal shaped box of that shit, and like over time I just gave it away for some reason, and I was like, yeah, cool. I'm sure those friends like threw them away or something. I have no idea, but yeah, like for some fucking reason, like I never hear about Bakugan anymore.
No, I guess it didn't last. But for some reason, Beyblade endures. Yeah, which to me, Bakugan. So when I was growing up, Bakugan came out before. Sorry, no, there was like a Beyblade series earlier, but I happened to be growing up in like a Beyblade drought when there just wasn't an anime for a while, and I guess they weren't pushing it. I have no idea. But Bakugan came out and was pretty popular, I remember, in my age group. And then Beyblade came out, and I'm like, dude, this is like a shitty Bakugan. They both even start with B? Come on. It's like tops or whatever? What is this, like anime dreidels?
Yeah, I always thought Beyblade looked pretty lame in person, I'm not gonna lie. But there was this one video I saw that kind of changed my mind, where this guy made this big metal bowl that they could like spin in, and then he'd add, I think it was gasoline or like alcohol,
yeah,
and then he'd light it, and then the Beyblades would go on fire and like hit each other, and I'm like, dude, this is literally like the anime, like in real life right now. It's like crazy.
Most of my knowledge of the Beyblade anime starts and stops at the fact that in the Beyblade universe, Moses split the Red Sea with a Beyblade.
I don't remember any of the story, but that's
like
hilarious.
A thing that they showed.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah, I remember sitting with like a friend of mine, and we were looking at Pokemon cards, and they have like the HP of the Pokemon. And I remember I was like, what does HP stand for? Because I was so little, I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, what does HP stand for? And he goes, oh, it's horsepower. I was like, damn, this is like 170 horse. This is a fast Pokemon. Why do I need to know its speed?
Wow, yeah. Fucking, right. Yeah, Pikachu has like 10 horsepower or something.
And that also brought up a question in my mind of like, how do they know what horses are in Pokemon? That's a thing in Pokemon that always was a little mysterious to me. You remember how there will be like descriptions of Pokemon, right? And Pikachu, for instance, it's like an electric mouse or something like that. Electric something. And they'll reference like the type of animal that it's based on. And in my mind, I'm like, how do you guys know what that is? Like, how do you know what a turtle is? Where do you get your concept of like the word turtle, when the actual thing that you would have based that type of animal on, you called something completely different? Like it's the Pokemon name.
Yeah, I don't know. I always just think like, oh, they have like a Rapidash, the fire horse Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
And then they like base it off that. I don't know, but like I know they use really general terms. I also love when I'm trying to look up like Yu-Gi-Oh art stuff or like whatever, and like you said, like a Facebook link comes up, you try to open it, and it's just like, you gotta log in. You gotta log in your YouTube Facebook account.
Yeah. I guess to rant for a second while you're doing that. So for the most recent video, there's an interview that's only available on a Facebook page, and I had to make a Facebook page because I don't have a Facebook account. I had to make one, and I just made it really quickly. I made sure to do like the email verification stuff, and then I was just going to use it to look at this page to read through the interviews and maybe any other materials they had. And within an hour, my account got suspended for suspicious behavior. and I appealed it, and they said, nope, suspicious. So I had to get Kat to, because she has a Facebook account. I had to send it to her so that she could copy paste it into a Google Doc. I hate. The other thing about Facebook is that whenever Facebook images come up in a Google image search, they're always insanely compressed. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes, actually. Literally.
It's the worst.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like,
they're forcing you to like.
It's got to be some kind of, because I've seen the original images or the images on the page itself, and it's not. So yeah, it has to be some kind of like, oh, I got to click into the site to see the image. But it's so inconvenient if there's some kind of important image that I want to look at. I can't stand it. I can't stand these guys. Also, having a Facebook page for like archival purposes it's like the worst kind of format. It's the worst.
Yeah, Facebook, like, it's... man, I don't know if there's ever been a time that I liked Facebook's format, like, once. Like, I always just... I mean, this is a whole different topic, but just the whole... I really don't like shit like LinkedIn and, like, Facebook and all that are, like, super...
That makes you normal if you don't like LinkedIn.
I mean, yeah, because, like, their whole deal is to, like, de-anonymize yourself, which is kind of, like... I don't really like that. Like, I thought one of the whole big purposes of the internet's like to have kind of you know, you don't have to like tell everything about yourself to everybody. But LinkedIn, literally, it gets to the point where you have to like. I think Facebook does this too, where you have to like verify your identity with like a fucking government ID or some shit, like with something, some shit like that. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's basically a nightmare if your whole deal is to try to separate your internet life from, you know, your real life, and then somebody just happens to come across your Facebook or your LinkedIn, it's over. Like, they just
Well, LinkedIn is for like job searching.
Yeah, I get that, but still, like, it could still be kind of like tethered to all your other stuff, and I've been pretty careful about not letting that happen to me. Like, I just have a whole separate thing for, you know, job shit, and then separate thing for, oh my fucking god, that garage door is so loud. I don't know if you can hear that, but anyway.
I don't hear it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's open it and close it again. No, that whole deal, I don't know. You know how I am about, like, fucking internet privacy and shit. I'm pretty serious about it. I'm trying to be.
I don't know if you know. I was mentioning it a little bit in your server, which, if anyone doesn't know, I guess I can reiterate. I spend a lot of time in Prox's public Discord server, so I guess if you want to come look at me like a zoo animal, you can join. That. So you can. I might leave a link to it or whatever.
Yeah, let me give you one. I can give you one in the chat, so you don't have to go looking for it.
Because I'm not gonna. I've talked about this a couple times, but I'm not gonna make my own Discord server.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like mostly. There's the official link that's the only link into my server right there. If I close that one, there's like no way in, pretty much. But oh well, I guess people can invite each other. I've seen that a couple times. Anyway, but I kind of get that. For several reasons. Like, a part of it, on one end, it's like, you know, am I even, like, because a part of me is like, is there even enough people, like, dedicated people to my thing anyway to have a server? And then another part of me is like, there's like I don't know, I almost feel like there's like an innate specific, like, I don't know if you'd call this a bias, but only the most dedicated people will join, or only the most dedicated like trolls will join. That seems to be the only. Well, there are chill people, don't get me wrong, but like every other, I feel like in the past month or so we've been talking about this, but there's just like, I feel like this is a problem in a lot of places like forums and shit, but there are people that join shit and then just like only talk there to cause problems. Like, they only want to have like huge arguments. Like, it's not even a conversation sometimes, like, or like one you even want to have, like, it could be totally irrelevant, whatever the fuck, but their whole deal, oh, I guess you can't hear that garage shit. It just keeps opening and closing. Holy shit. Their whole deal is to just start discourse, like, and I'm not really about that shit. Like, I'm down to have, like, a conversation about, like, whatever the fuck, but, like, there's just some, yeah, I've had to, like, ban, like, or we banned, like, 2 guys or something in the past, like, 2 weeks, and it's just, yeah. People like that really make me think, like, yeah, I kind of don't want a fucking server, because no matter what, those people are always going to, like, they're always going to have the upper hand. They can always just make a new account, you know, VPN, whatever. They could fuck with you all they want. It's just like, why? Like, you know, sometimes I think I'm kind of wasting my time on the internet sometimes when I should be doing something else. But then, like, what are these guys doing? That's like turbo wasting your time, whatever you call that.
That's why you keep it around, to feel better. Granted, that's, like, I would say the exception. Easily the exception.
Those people, they're, like, decently rare, but it's so funny. Like, I don't know, man. It's like, it's people of all ages, but I swear there's just, I've seen it with, I don't know, like, some Zoomers on the internet, like, they think I don't know what they're doing sometimes, but I've been here for so long.
They can't tell, or that you can't tell, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, what they're doing and, like, what they're trying to do, like, slowly, like, they're trying to finicky around, and it's like, dude, I can't, like, I'm just gonna ban you, like, fuck you, like, I don't, just get out of here, like, whatever, like, just chill. Can we chill? Like, yeah, I'd like that. Can we have a chill people join? If you're a chill guy, whammon.
Yeah.
Or if, you know, chill whatever, just, you know, and you want to talk to us, hang out, talk about games, just chill out where we talk about chill shit. Jesus Christ. Server's cool, yeah.
I brought it up just because I've been mentioning it, that I recently started using BlueSky.
Right, yeah, I've heard of that, and yeah, I did go on, like, a whole rant about my server and banning people.
No, that's
Sorry,
fair.
it wasn't even that much, but yeah, I've been wanting to make a BlueSky too, because a friend of mine, an art friend of mine, is saying they want to go there for art, and, like, a part of me almost wants to make an account, like, anonymous, like, something not affiliated with any of my stuff, and just post some of my art, but yeah, who knows. But
yeah, I mean, it's pretty. I've been so, if anyone's not aware, in the last week, there was an update. There was a kind of a double whammy of updates on Twitter. Whoa. Wow, I swallowed. I, like, swallowed wrong. The first one was that the block function is being updated so that if you block someone, they can still view your posts. They just can't interact with them, which a lot of people took issue with. The framing of it was, now people can't talk about you behind your back, which is such a weird justification, because I feel like those people would not even be doing that on a public Twitter or anything. What I'm thinking is that Elon Musk got blocked by one of his kids again or something. So they updated it. Everyone hated that decision. Everyone hates that decision because it basically, I mean, there's genuinely, like, kind of safety concerns for certain people. Like, I don't want certain people to be looking at what I'm posting or anything. It just makes it more hostile. The other change was that they have this, like, stupid AI thing called Grok, which was bizarre to wake up and see. It's like, there's just a section of the site called Grok now. And they said that the idea was Grok is going to be trained on your posts. I don't know if that included images. I don't know if people kind of assumed so. I don't know if it did, or if it was just via text. But that was an opt-in feature, and they announced that it is going to no longer be an opt-in feature. It is mandatory that you have to let Grok read your dumb posts and maybe scrape your images. I don't know. I have used it zero. I've never used it before. I don't know if there's any kind of image generation thing that it has. So that kind of double whammy was the straw that broke not exactly every camel's back, but more camels than ever before. So a lot of people decided to make the transition to jump over to BlueSky, which, if you are not familiar with, is essentially it was founded by the guy who founded Twitter, Jack whatever. It is not Twitter. Like parentheses, not Twitter is what I'd call it. In terms of functionality, it is functionality and layout and design and purpose. It is basically Twitter in all but name, but with a couple key distinctions. So one of them is what initially interested me is that technically BlueSky is a federated network. I don't know if you're familiar with federated social medias or federated internet procs.
I don't believe so. No, I don't think so. Can you? Yeah, what is that?
Essentially, the idea is that anyone can it's a software for a particular purpose. For instance, like making a Twitter. And then anyone can take that software and make their own version of Twitter. But all of them use a singular... Every one of them uses the same protocol, as it's called, which allows them to link up together and essentially function as one. It's essentially like anyone can start their own server, but all servers can communicate and connect with each other, and you can follow people across them. So I really like the idea of federated networks because they are essentially a solution to the problem of what we saw throughout the 2010s and the late 2000s, which is social medias becoming increasingly centralized around singular companies or services or something. It's because it's essentially lots of independently owned servers, but they all function as one like gestalt whole social media platform. For the most part, I was really into federated networks for a while. The biggest problem with them is just that there aren't enough users on them. And the concept, in execution, it's pretty simple. Like most of them just function like regular social medias. But like explaining to people exactly how it works, and like, so I make an account on like one thing, but I can't post on another thing. And it's like, no, well, you're posting to a server, but I can view posts from one server on a different one. Like it's a little weird. It kind of, the best comparison would be like email. Like you can make a Gmail account, but I can still send and receive mail from like a Yahoo or something like that.
Yeah.
BlueSky simplifies a lot of the process in a number of ways. Number one, the actual usability of it is a lot better than many other federated social medias in that it has a very easy to use, pretty clean interface. The app is extremely usable. It's a very solid app. And stable. And it basically front loads a bunch of the BlueSky company, basically takes on a bunch of slack where otherwise maybe specific users might have to pick it up in the case of a smaller platform. So if you make an account today, if you go right now to make a BlueSky account, the default server that it puts you on is like the bsky.social, which is like the kind of the big catch-all server. The second biggest FedNet is Mastodon, which is also like a Twitter alternative. And they also have like a Mastodon.social thing that's the big catch-all. But also, if you would like to, you can just you can host your own BlueSky server, essentially. And that means that you will be connected to everything else on BlueSky, but you are going to be like hosting your own posts, essentially. So if that like appeals to you and you like that, that's an option. But the generic catch-all, like I just made one on like bsky.social, and I think most people would. The second solution that they have to some issues is, okay, the benefit of having a bunch of individual servers is that you can have specific ones. So you can join a server that's specifically focused on a type of game or something. Like there was a fighting game community, like Mastodon server, right? Because BlueSky is a lot more concerned with getting kind of streamlining the process, they have implemented a similar kind of function, or like it performs a similar function of splitting things up into categories. And it's probably one of the coolest features of the platform, which is that they have custom feeds. So you go on Twitter and they have like the For You and the Following, right?
Yeah.
And following is to all the people that you follow, and then For You is just some awful algorithm. BlueSky it allows you to add, like, essentially like pin, and also create yourself, if you'd like to host it, a custom feed, which I think like under the hood technically just works like a server. And basically there's some kind of algorithmic thing that goes on where if you say like, okay, this is the gaming feed, and the feed is programmed in a way that whoever set it up, there's like software that you can use to make one of these. Whoever set it up can look for certain keywords that are posted on just the general BlueSky like whole, across the entire thing, and then it will pick out posts or accounts that match those keywords. And then when you're looking at the gaming feed, it's like a big it's a feed of things that should relate to like video games, for instance. And you can get like very specific with it, or you can get very broad with it. Excuse me. So it starts out with like there's like a discovery and just a following tab that you can switch to. But there is a feed that is only images from people that you follow. So if you only care about art, and for the most part what I've seen on the site, there's just a lot of art. If you like looking at art, there's a lot of shit on BlueSky. Yeah. There's also like a big surge. There's like there's like 12, was it 12? There's a couple million people on it now in like the last week who joined. So there's like a specific feed that is like, because I've run into this problem of like, I like this artist, and then I'm going to follow them because I like their art. I saw a couple pieces. I got recommended a couple pieces they did. I'm going to follow them. And then all they post is just like personal stuff. And then every like 2 months is an art piece. You can focus your experience with like a custom feed that just shows you when people post images or media, you can follow if you put a hashtag in your bio and then you tag your posts with the same hashtag, you can actually just follow people, but only, I think like you can set up a feed that like you'll only see things they post in with that tag. So for instance, if you're like, well, I want to be even more specific and I don't want to see like every reaction GIF that they post. If they have like an art, hashtag art, you can just essentially follow hashtag art posts from that account, and you will only get notified or have stuff show up when they post a piece of their art. Some really interesting features and stuff that I'm kind of still learning about. the I would say the biggest, there's like there's a double-edged sword to it, which is that there is no real algorithm. There's like keywords. It seems like it's kind of organized by keywords, and that's how they decide what is shown to you on a particular feed, if it's set up that way. But the general like discovery feed is like, it's like a fire hose. So I had this problem where they kept showing me furry art, and they kept showing me furry art and yaoi, and I was like, I don't want to see guys kissing. It's not, I don't want to, I'm not interested in seeing two like oiled up muscular tiger guys making out. I'm sorry guys. And no matter how much, it took like a couple days, but eventually I got the furries out of my algorithm there, out of my discovery feed. Now the problem that I'm having is every like maybe 20 or so posts is just like an Asian guy posting his bulge.
What? What?
Yeah, it'll just be like a Chinese guy like in his underwear, like, here's my big old penis inside my underwear. And I'm like, okay, that's stop. Okay, now this I have to, and okay, one feature, there's a couple features that they need to add. Number one, they don't have bookmarks yet, which I think would be the next thing on the chopping block. But also, in order to like block or mute someone, you have to go to their account. So every time I mute someone who's like, it's like, I also kept going. I was like, oh, finally, I got all the furries out of the discovery feed for me. And then like I scrolled down and it's like, what's up? I'm California Diaper Boy. I love sitting in my diaper and drinking apple juice and watching Disney movies. Here's a picture of me doing such. And I was like, don't. Okay, so, we're like out of the frying pan and into the fire. We're just it's like, you have a lot of, it's the double-edged sword of, there is so much shit on Twitter that is just like engagement bait and things that are designed to make you upset and to engage with them more. And BlueSky, in my experience, has been pretty bereft of that. Like, it's a very chill experience. Part of it is there's a lot of people who are new, and so there's kind of a generally positive vibe. I think the older that social medias get, they tend to get a little bit stodgy, because people who have been there for I don't know, communities kind of settle. But in general, it's been a really nice kind of relaxed vibe. It's mostly people posting art or little anecdotes or funny things. It's pretty refreshing. The other end of the sword is that, like, yes, there is no algorithm that's constantly pushing you to engage with the website, but that also means that you can kind of just get shown like a lot, like stuff that I don't have a problem with it existing. I just don't really want to see it right now.
Yeah.
While I'm looking for people to follow or something like that. But in general, it's been a pretty nice experience. You can make like, there's like starter packs, which are things that they're essentially like groups of accounts that you can make that you can categorize. Like these, like, here's the gaming news starter pack is one that I got. And it just, oh, okay, yeah, I'd like to see gaming news. Here's like 20 accounts that post about it that are like official, like publications and a couple independent journalists and stuff like that. That's a neat feature. There's certain things that are missing. I think they recently just introduced videos, but it's a solid time. I'm kind of glad to have left Twitter, to be honest, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I might just make a BlueSky account. I might just leave Twitter as well, to be honest. I'm not sure if I even want to keep my old account or not. I might still do that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to make, like, if I were to join it, I'd probably make a damn YouTube one and, like, an art one or something.
Yeah, I just mine right now is just Taigen Moon, so like the same thing that's in my same way you'd spell it on my like channel, my main channel, Taigen Moon .bsky.social, I think. I made a community post on the main channel about it, so if you're curious about that, you can check that out. But yeah, no, I've been. It's kind of nice to enjoy a social media.
Yeah, I mean, do they have like a mobile app?
Oh yeah,
it's yeah, I figured.
Yeah, it's pretty stable. It works pretty well. I don't know if I haven't done a ton of exploring about it, but for the purposes of just like all the basic functionality you would want. Also, there's DMs.
Okay, so I can like basically complain to you later, specifically through BlueSky DMs about my Yu-Gi-Oh card that I don't have anymore actually being like the best Yu-Gi-Oh card ever or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can like harass me.
I'm waiting for someone to make like a Discord alternative that just has a lot of Discord features I care about, not the ones I don't, and it's not like I don't even know. Like, 'cause I know there's been alternatives for a long time. Like, there's still Skype, which I fucking hate. There's TeamSpeak. There's Ventrilo. There's like a lot, and I've heard that there was like one particular one that was pretty close to being good, and then it was like they did something stupid with requiring like an like I forgot what they did. I don't even know who it was. Like they rose and fell as fast as like I could remember. Like something like a friend was telling me about it. Anyway, but yeah, I'm kind of getting tired of how bloated Discord feels. That's kind of how Twitter feels. Like it just feels bloated, and they keep doing shit that I don't care about, but it obstructs me using their platform. Like Twitter, I think my least favorite thing about Twitter that pisses me off is I pull up a video on my phone I think is funny. I kind of want it to loop, and then it plays like a fucking ad, and I have to like go back and play the video again. I have to do it over and over again, and they demand premium and shit. Like, and it's like, dude, fuck off.
Oh yeah,
like holy
That's
crap.
The nice thing about BlueSky at the moment, and I have no idea how long this is going to last, but there's no ads on it.
Yeah, I've noticed.
There's no ads, and I don't know if they're going to do something about that, or because generally, so with the idea with federated networks is because instead of one company taking on the operating costs of managing the servers for millions and millions of people, the idea is that you're breaking it up into a bunch of smaller chunks to be hosted by thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, let's say. You're basically splitting up the costs of the massive network among a bunch of different independent people who want to run their own thing. But I don't know if that's how BlueSky plans to do their thing, or how much, like, if they're just going to fund it with VC, or I don't know how they plan to make money at any point, or if they'll introduce ads or a premium or something like that. Yeah, I do feel the same way about how it really felt like over time Twitter just kept adding shit that did not, like, the side, like the left side bar just felt like more and more stuff kept getting added onto it, and there's just nothing about it was ever relevant to me. I'm sure someone appreciated what do they got? Hang on, let me pull it up. I'm sure someone appreciates lists and monetization and communities. Yeah. Oh, you know what's funny is I just opened Twitter. I'm like, oh, I have a notification. The last 5 accounts that have followed me are all bots. They're all porn bots.
Yeah, I just oh god, it's like a thing too where Twitter, like the Grok AI thing, it's so I think I've talked about this before, but as time goes on, I'm getting like more and more sick of AI. Like just text AI or like image AI, especially image AI, I think, because
Mm-hmm.
I go to fucking like art forums and shit or like art search engines and I'm like, all right, let's look for new art, cool art to use for profile picture, this or that, like, just stuff, cool stuff, art stuff. And then some of the image, like you can clearly tell what image boards have allowed AI and which have not, because
Yeah.
the ones that allow it, like fucking 90%, it feels like it's like a huge, like it's like a sludge of like the same like styles and poses. It's like it's garbage. Like there's like an infinite, I forgot what person said this, but there's like an infinite supply of AI and like for me, like a lot of normal people, like such little demand. Like it's just like there's just so much crap. Like it's like sludge. And it's
Yeah.
made me really, really appreciate like my own artistic skill and like I can kind of do some things, like and other people's especially, like their art skill and shit. Like there's God, I fucking hate AI art, dude. Like I'm getting actually
It,
sick of it.
yeah. It's like it. I don't know. It's such a big topic.
Oh yeah,
It's
I think
such
we've
a
gone
big
over
topic.
it before, but I
Oh
think
yeah,
we're
I'm
pretty
sure.
much like similar thoughts about it. Like I was kind of when we first talked about it, I was a little bit like, but now I'm like, no, I fucking hate it. Like I'm pretty like people like it's a cool thing, I think, but then people just keep doing like the same shit with it. Like it just and they keep wanting to just make money off of it and that's like all they want to do. Like
Yeah, and what's
people
hilarious is
have
like it
corrupted it
can't.
in my opinion. Yeah, like in my opinion AI is cool, but people in my opinion have corrupted it. Like straight up.
I it to me, I don't really see much value in it in really any sense, because from an aesthetic point of view, most AI generated imagery is very repetitive, and
Yeah.
also I think like there's something inherently disappointing about finding out that someone didn't actually choose to make the decisions that are in the thing, uh, and that it was like some kind of algorithmic bot that did it. So I get very little like appreciation for the work itself, because I don't think that there was really any work put into it. Which is the second part, which is that AI art I don't think has any real like economic value. Like if you think about it, why is artwork valuable at all? It's because someone like in an economic sense, in a financial sense, why is artwork valuable? And it's a combination of the fact that it is a specialized skill set. It is someone's specific style, right? It's something that they have built up over years, and they have a particular voice, and they have a certain level of quality, which only comes from a lot of effort being invested into that. And
Yeah.
also the creation of the piece itself requires a lot of time and effort, and it can take you 30 hours to finish a painting or something like that, uh, and those are the costs, like those are the values that a real artist, brings to the table, and none of those exist with AI. The only thing it's really effective for is displacing people's jobs, but the art itself has like no fiscal value.
Yeah, like I think that's like that pretty much kind of lines up with what I feel about it as well, or like how well, I don't know, because I found some artists like there's this really particular one. I don't remember their name. I'm not gonna like call them out, but they make some really cool like dark fantasy themed like like characters and like monsters and like places and all that. And like I've
Mm-hmm.
drew inspiration from it. I was like, wow, this is fucking awesome. Like the art style is really gritty. And then I learned they do like AI prompting, and it just like 180'd my view and just like, really? Like, oh, fuck. Well, okay. Well, that sucks. Like, I kind of feel weird and a little cheated that I saw that, and I was like, wow, that's so creative. And how'd they come up with that? And it's just, oh, well, okay, I don't know. It sucks. I think it's just, yeah, I'm not gonna rant about it. Just I fucking hate it. Like, especially with art. I feel for the art community that was like trying to get into it and try to make a living out of it, especially, and then this shit happened and it like basically threatened their livelihood like out of nowhere. Cause like, yeah, it is a real cool job, like artistic. Just that artistic angle, just art in general, just, man, those people are so important. Like, I know a lot of people, I think we've talked about this maybe, but I know a lot of people who are very good at like programming. Like, they're really good with like all that, like, I don't want to call it mechanical, but it kind of is. It's like a very low level, like, and I say low level as in like really important, like foundational type stuff when it comes to like, oh yeah, I could try building up on this engine, like this game engine or whatever, and this and that, and they can make these features and do all that. But then like the artists come in and they mingle with these people, and it creates like some of the best looking games like I've ever seen, like some of like the best pieces of art. Like, fucking, I'm just looking at the indie scene for like horror games to like play soon, and oh my god, it's just like an endless sea of creativity from like mechanical wise and like art wise. Like, I want to play Psychopomp. That's a really cool looking game. I want to fucking play oh god, dude, I need to play that one game, the fucking Unholy Trinity or whatever, the Faith, yeah. Faith. That game is fucking incredible. Like, anybody who's like it's like playing an old DOS game. God, and I think it's called like what was that? Anyway, I can go on about it forever, but artists are just, yeah, I have like untold respect for like those people. Or, well, now I've said it, so anyway, yeah. I don't know what I'm ranting about, but yeah, art is cool. Yeah, fuck AI art.
Yeah, art's cool.
Annoyed.
We like art.
Yeah.
Of all kinds. And I think that's a good note to end this on.
Yeah, what's your guys' favorite art?
Yeah.
Favorite artist?
Yeah, let us know about art or
musical
artists and
or
stuff that you like.
Movies, yeah, whatever. Or your take on AI art, or I guess AI in general, because it's kind of infecting everything right now, whether we like it or not. I think like just a lot of, yeah, anyway, that's a whole topic. Every company's like talking about it and implementing it and shit, and it's like, yeah, is it useful?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably not. Grok. Yeah.
Yeah, I think let us know what you think. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I will definitely get to them next time. But write them in the form of a question, because I'm not just going to read your thoughts out loud.
I've been Taigen,
Prox.
Sorry, yeah. Did you cover the last ones from the last episode? Like,
we didn't have any.
Oh, okay.
It was me talking about. So what's really weird is it was just a retrospective on the Wizardry series, and it got like a slightly above average viewership, but no one commented on it. So I don't know if they know that usually this podcast is just me fucking around talking about, like, rambling about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something random for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I literally went through the entire... I mean, I kind of went on my own little adventure of trying to find one card in the entirety of the North American Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster card list, and I found it, I think. So, anyway, I mean, that was fun. It was a good time. I didn't mean to interrupt your outro. I was just like, yeah, I didn't know if there were previous questions, but yeah, it's... yes.
Prox will not be here next week. He's actually banned. I'm never talking to him again.
No! God!
That's right. I'm sorry you had to find out like this.
You'll hear about this on my BlueSky account real soon.
You can find him at the channel Prox, although if you search up Prox is Frisky, it'll probably come up. He's the blue one.
Yes, the blue man. That is me.
You stream every Thursday.
Yes, and Taigen is usually there. We're doing like the spooky month stream stuff. We're doing that for 2 more Thursdays, though I might have to delay the stream tomorrow anyway, but that's another thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's been good being on here. It's a fun episode. We talked about AI and Yu-Gi-Oh and Silent Hill. Lots of stuff to think about, actually. God. So, thank you.
All right. And with that, I don't think I have anything else left to post. The video is on its way sometime, hopefully before Halloween. And oh yeah, check out the main channel and the Clips channel and the whatever else I'm doing in my Patreon. And bye.